been on a boat so long I don't know where I'm going.
We will begin.
Has he got any...
I've already begun. It's already
sorry,
recording.
I didn't realise.
Hello, welcome to Mad Queen's Crack Horse 99.
Should we listen to what
If
just
she's
happened?
on the crack, you don't have to come on her back, she won't notice.
All right.
History's maddest bastards. Silly boys in the bar. With a spatula. Mental illness is quite amusing. Here we go. Let's go abusing the past.
Hello and welcome to History's Maddest Bastards,
Welcome
episode
you.
6.
How dare you?
Hello.
And this is episode 6. I think I got the last one confused for episode 6.
We got a lot confused in the last episode, actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
reasons
it's
why.
almost like we're just confused people in general, isn't it?
6.5. No, it was 5.5, sorry. We weren't
Yes.
confused.
But
Yeah.
most importantly, we are, well, it's approaching Christmas.
And we've had
It
a
is.
bloody drink. This is the
We've
actual...
all had a bloody drink.
It's 1 year anniversary.
Nothing's changed. Nothing. I'm still Matt.
I'm
Yeah.
still Simon, I think.
And I hope I'm not sure I do actually. I'm definitely still me. But
This is also a special episode for 3 reasons. It's Christmas Bloody Bastard Special.
yeah.
It's our 1 year anniversary, gentlemen. And it's also the first time when Stefan is not having a drink. He's having a drink.
Yeah, it means it's the first time I am having a drink on the
He
podcast. 'cause
came on the bus proudly, like a Rosa Parks. You took your seat.
Usually I
That's what
drive
happened.
myself
Figure.
and Matt here. This time I'm going to get pissed, so it's great.
Great. What have you been drinking so far?
Well, I'm towards the end of my second horn of mead
Ooh.
at the moment.
Oh,
'cause
you bought that horn tonight.
I bought this horn tonight. I
Where
was
did you buy
walking.
it?
Oh, I
You
should've
see,
brought
I'm
my
glad you
horn
asked
down.
that.
I'll grab your
So,
horn for you.
guys, I was walking through the market square to meet Matt, and I saw a stall
Did you
selling
buy it
mead.
today?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
saw a stall not selling mead, selling horns from which I can drink mead.
You disappeared for about 10 minutes.
And I
didn't
thought,
know where you
yeah,
got.
I'll get one of these.
I fully assumed you just had a drinking horn on a stand.
I thought you might have died.
I've got another drinking horn, but I don't have a stand for it, and this one has a stand that fits it perfectly.
Doesn't
So.
that stand against the whole point of a drinking horn, that you've got a drink and you can't put it down, that you've got a wrought iron stand?
I mean, I don't know, really.
It's
Like,
nice though, isn't it?
Depends
Yeah.
what school of horn drinking you come from.
It's sort of something
Yeah.
that you'd have in the background if you had a shaved video. Shaved head.
Shaved
Oh,
If you
guys,
had a
guys,
shaved-
guys.
You can imagine a shaved video.
Right, hang on a
Straight
minute.
ready.
So that reminds me, I've just got a notification on my laptop here,
No!
because that's what we're recording on, and it says that someone's commented on our Christmas message. That reminds me, go check out our History's Maddest
No,
Bastards
don't do that.
Christmas
Facebook
message.
page.
Because it's shit.
It's on the Facebook page and it's on our YouTube
It's
channel.
me attempting to change a light bulb and then Stefan talking
It's-
about
And if,
shit.
if
You know what? This person's put this in the public domain, so I'll read it out. It says, Merry Christmas to 2019's Maddest Bastards, and that
Aw.
YouTube was called Hollandvigger.
Oh,
So-
wow, that's
They-
really nice.
Thank
I
you.
don't
Who
know.
are you? What's
It's probably...
the vigour of Holland? Who are you?
They can say
well,
it
Holland
if they want.
Hollandwigger, but I assume it's Holland
Oh,
Hollandvigger.
We
It's
probably
not our
shouldn't.
tall, jolly...
I think it might be him, actually.
Shanty
now that I
friend.
think about it.
I talked to him the other day, and he was
Who
way
are
late
you?
to something where he said, sorry... Well, he said, sorry for being about half an hour late. I was busy shantying somewhere.
That's
and
a
I got-
reasonable
I
excuse,
lost
isn't it?
track of time.
Yeah.
I said that was the king of excuses.
Like a man saying, sorry I'm late, Matt, I was buying a drinking horn. Like, that's a...
Sorry, I'm late. I was slaying a bear with my cock end.
It's
Sorry.
been a weird thing.
That's all I could think
It's
of.
impressive if you did it.
It's the only way to slay a bear.
It's
Right,
quite
so
a
what-
calloused one.
What are you guys drinking? Because I'm on the mead, as is you.
I am on Irish coffee!
I'm on not my favourite drink really, but it's a thing in,
Well,
the
yeah.
spirit of it.
You're on
In
what?
honour of
Uh,
our
Oh well,
individual choices, I am drinking Irish coffee, and I also have Guinness.
because the theme.
I also have...
I thought you were going to get your nasal spray out.
no, I'm
What have
not
you got?
for now. Taylor's Late Bottled Vintage Port, 2014 edition.
I'm drinking Guinness also in honour of our 2 people, because the theme is Who's the drunkest Irishman?
Ah,
'Cause
very good, very
we
good.
enjoy
Was
stereotypes.
yours Irish? I didn't realise.
Yeah, they're both. Well, allegedly.
With the names, you
None
do seem
of them
so.
sound that Irish to me.
Well, this is we'll get in. We'll
See,
get
I
into that.
I would have drank Guinness as well, but Guinness does strange things to my stomach, so I'm just going to stick with the mead for
I
me.
have a horrifying story about that we
That's
could
what
waste
you
time
do.
on.
Going
Yeah,
off
let's
people's
waste some
back
time on that
alleys.
horrifying story, Simon.
When
Go on.
I was a younger man and I was a student, there was someone in my corridor in my student halls and it was his 20th birthday, and he decided he was going to drink 20 pints of Guinness.
Oh,
This
joy.
sounds like something George would do.
And yeah, he's a
Sounds
silly boy
like
also.
a brilliant, safe idea, full of joy and fun.
I don't know if he reached 20, but he came back to that
20
same
stone.
corridor. Probably, he was a chubby boy, but it didn't save him that night.
He...
You won't know what he did, Matt. He basically he was sick all the way up the stairs, all the way into the corridor. He got into the toilets. We were very lucky. It was a nice toilet. It had like toilets in every corridor. And then just Guinness exploded out of both ends.
Oh.
So he basically had explosive diarrhea all up the walls of this cubicle. He was sick all over the place. He fell off the toilet, was just spiraling around with shit, like when you drop a hose.
Oh.
And then
man.
crawled back to his
Was
room.
it on a revolving chair.
Oh,
Way!
The trouble is,
Spinning wheels!
you know, one of those moments when the compassion drains out and you're like, I'm not helping that man.
They made their own bed, let them shit in it.
Well, we watched him crawl back to his room where he presumably continued to
Help
shit
me,
himself.
I was once like you. No, elephant man.
Well, the next day, unsurprisingly, there was like a mop by the toilets with like some stuff, and there was just
Was it brown mop?
no. There was a note from the cleaners saying, "We're not paid to deal with this. You have to sort it out," which
That's
is
a-
perfectly fair.
That's a
Yeah.
biohazard.
And then, so we knocked on his door to get him, and then he just went, "Can't prove that. It wasn't me."
Oh, for crying out loud.
But there was a black snail trail from the toilets to his room and shitty handprints all up his door. And suspiciously...
Oh yeah, you can't prove that was him, can you?
It's- Weirdly, you'd have fingerprints in it,
Well, we were,
as well as DNA.
well, we were saying animal ships, and never mind.
Because, you know, someone who's shit and Guinness from both ends can... They obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is, right, I've got to frame someone else for this.
Well, we basically had an... Well, actually, this is the thing. He did say at one point, can't prove it, it might have been Simon that shit himself. Like, what, in your room?
Yeah.
All over your sheets, which we can see and smell.
Yes.
But, yeah, sorry, I got a bit upset.
Well, I've got a friend who recently, incidentally, became a member of the Raving Monster Loony Party.
Monster
That's
Raving
the only
Loony
good
Party.
party we
Monster
got.
Raving. Why does everybody tell me that? I keep getting it wrong.
I don't know.
Oh,
You're wrong about
I feel
everything,
so
man.
pent
But
up.
please
But
continue.
he's joined, called himself, I don't know, something like Belligerent Sea Lion the Third.
That's quite right.
And when he was in halls, they lived in these identical blocks. And he got really tanked up one night. He was quite a big bloke. And he went back to what he thought was his block in halls, went up to the right number on the right floor in this room. The door happened to be open. There was a lad in bed. So he just grabbed him, turfed him out of the bed and got inside. And the poor lad didn't know what to do, went and got the authorities. And they just came into the room and said, "You've got to get out of here." And he turned around and said, "What the fuck are you doing
Yeah.
in my room? It's my room."
To be fair, I used to have a terrible habit of going to the wrong floor and going to what I insisted was my room, and then getting in the bed and demanding to know why they'd moved my things around, which is disgraceful behaviour.
Well, I kind of like that sort of Terminator 2-esque.
Give
way
me
of
your
doing
room!
things. It's like if someone in any way disagrees with you, throw them across the corridor. I wish I could do it, but I'm too
I wish
small.
I could too. I sort of push vainly at them, like, yeah, but it doesn't really
Eject
work.
them with minimum force, waft them out with a fan, like,
Yes.
big on
Well,
you.
Away
anyway.
with you.
I would say if you haven't listened to any of our podcasts before and
Don't,
you're just
'cause
coming
they're
into this
shit.
now, if you don't know our illustrious judge Stephen Harrison, he actually died in the trenches in a gas attack
It's
in
true, yeah.
1917, and we've ever since been talking to the strange robotic vegetable version ever since.
It's true.
That was only the first time I died, actually.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
this was before he was reborn. I mean, his lungs were more mustard than man.
They were
That's
designed to breathe through mud, just like a lungfish. But
just
he
like,
has since
That's
like
true.
a frog boy who was bred to beat the Germans.
I say, take a grenade, frog boy.
But we could always actually get back to the podcast. 'cause
Yeah,
this is
we
all a bunch
could.
of shit.
So, anyway, lads, I suggest that before we start a podcast,
No!
we each take one of these biscuits and then eat them.
Not
as-
eating your
We eat
biscuit!
them as loudly as possible. Right, go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, ASMR, you cunt. While you're fanning about, Mike.
Dicks out for Harambe.
Harambe won't appreciate that. He's dead.
This is fine, yeah.
I don't understand
No, no,
that.
don't.
Oh, we're upset about this monkey getting shot. I better get my novel.
Ha,
How will that help?
I finished mine
Well-
ahead of the rest.
Well, if anyone's a new listener to this will be shit because
This
this
is
is nothing to do with history.
Education.
pretty standard.
This is our food channel part of the.
You said you wanted to go first. Who's your person, you fuck?
All right,
Whoa.
so yeah, Matt is going to go first.
I will tell you who my person is. It is the late great actor
I need a
Richard Harris. But if you go do that, I've got something else as a bit of a surprise for us.
Very good.
Oh, no, I'll sit through that.
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
So, I don't know if you got the ability to put on dramatic, hard-hitting music.
Well, I would, but I think Simon's got that covered.
Okay. I'm not going to talk over that. That's ridiculous. But
Your sister's all baby.
I thought I would take my inspiration. I've had 2 fucking coffees now.
He's
Incidentally,
gone daft.
I don't ever drink caffeine. I've just had 2 Irish coffees, so I'm a little bit wired.
You're like a girl out of a special episode of a 90s sitcom.
I've had a cider, Lolly, I'm buzzing.
I've had 5 cups of tea and I can't stop. And then, the
Like,
cop from Dad has to give her a hug.
I'm going to refill my horn of
espresso.
mead.
Okay.
Give us your special thing.
I'll explain what I'm going to do. Okay.
No, he's on the booze.
Rather than, so far we've been doing figures, maybe 1 or 2 from current history, but we've been doing mostly figures from the past. So I thought this time I would run with Mad Bastard News.
Oh, I thought you were going to say future bastards.
Da-da-da-da.
No, that would be...
This baby looks like a cunt.
Anyone could do that.
Yeah, that's true.
I could pick anyone from future and it could work because it's not
President
happened yet.
Schwarzenegger. Yeah.
That's basically what the future is, isn't
Yeah.
it? President Schwarzenegger will
So
be
good.
furious when he hears this podcast
Terminal
because of the impression I'm
temptation.
going to do now.
To be fair, it
Don't
is
look at me
exactly
like
what
that.
he would say at his inaugural speech.
Jesus, Marge, what the fuck?
Alright, come on, what is
Come
it?
on, who are you?
All right, okay, so Mad Bastard News. The premise I've got here is I'm going to read out 3 headlines from the last 2 weeks. I think they're all from the last 2
Okay,
weeks or
go.
so. And basically, I want you to decide which one is a hoax.
Oh.
2 of them are actual real events.
Mhm.
1 of them is actually a hoax.
Okay.
So cue the imaginary news music.
News music.
I'll put some real news music on. Yeah.
News. That used to be a band called Muse. Are they still a thing? I don't know.
I love
Yeah,
news.
they are. I think
They're
Oh,
not in
bless
this.
them.
So. But okay, read out 3 headlines, and you have to decide between the 2 of you.
We'll
which
decide,
one's
yeah.
the hoax. Okay, first one. Octopus and eagle square off at Canadian fish farm.
True.
No, hang on.
We'll
sorry.
decide at the end.
Oh, sorry.
Gimboid. Bloody hell.
You're so sure. It sounds like you were there. Did you instigate
I
this?
was there in the Octopus Wars.
No, I want to hear your reactions to them as well.
All right. Okay.
Okay, I'll read out all 3 and you pick which one
Okay, yeah,
is a
go on.
hoax. Okay. Octopus and eagle square off at Canadian fish farm.
That's amazing.
Sheep went sex mad for a week after Viagra was spilled into Irish Harbour.
Yeah, that's true.
And Dave the Duck has penis removed after injuring it, having sex 10 times a day.
I think I've seen the Dave the Duck news.
I've seen that one. That one is real. I'm pretty sure.
Sorry, do we have to pick one that's real?
You have to pick the one that's not real.
So there's 2 real and 1 fake.
I think Eagle versus Octopus is real. Because it's the powers
what,
of freedom.
What was the other one? Sheep goes sex mad after Viagra.
It was spilled into Irish Harbour.
It's the great bird of freedom versus the tentacles of communism. It's got to be real.
Ooh.
At the border
Which
as well.
which
At the
one
border. It's the Eagle of America versus the cuckoldry of Canada.
See, I haven't seen either of these news stories, but let's think about this logically, right?
Neither,
So,
there are 3.
well, no, I think we both agreed that the Dave the Duck one is real because we've seen it.
I think that
But-
the Canadians would unleash an octopus because they hate our freedom.
Think about this, right? What's more likely? A sheep somehow managed to go sex mad after drinking Viagra that was spilled into a harbour.
Would a sheep drink seawater?
I mean,
No, it
probably
would not. No,
and,
it would not.
And also, if it was spilled into that amount of water, would it have any effect on the sheep just by drinking the
No, it
water? I
wouldn't.
don't think so. So I'm going to go with the octopus and the eagle, like you.
Yeah, here we go.
So we're going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, Simon, but the fake news
Bird of
story
freedom is true.
is the sheep.
You are correct.
Yes!
Yeah, we did it.
Hang on, I'm trying to get my computer to work in your house with your bad Wi-Fi.
Maybe it's because you stole your computer from work.
I
Maybe
did not. This is mine.
Yeah,
But
that's
anyway,
okay.
yeah, you are correct. The full headline actually is...
Yes. Who won? Was
That's,
it the Freedom Bird?
My laptop's being very slow. Hang on.
Like
I'll get it up on my phone because I've got one on there. Because I hate your house and everything that lives in it.
It is full of spaces. There's a big old crack on the wall. and my lampshade fell off.
And I mean, that sinkhole has the house slowly sinking.
Yeah,
There
is an issue. There's several floors of sewers to the side of this house that have fallen in. So we slowly sink into the abyss as we drink, gentlemen.
We can edit this part out. But no, the full headline was actually Pfizer deny bizarre claim sheep went sex mad for a week after Viagra was spilled into Irish Harbour after false rumours spread online.
Do you remember that guinea pig that went mad because it was in like a big old guinea pig breeding place, and a boy guinea pig got in a girl guinea pig place, and it had sex with about 100 of them, and he slept for several days. And there were photos of him all tucked into his little bed.
What a lad! That's fucking hilarious.
They had like a spokesperson from the place where I lived, and they just like, that poor little boy is all tuckered out.
Do you want to hear any of the actual news articles?
Yeah.
Which one do you want to hear about?
Octopus.
Octopus. Let's see.
Yeah, I think we've heard the Dave the Duck one, but you could give us a summary of both, I suppose.
For some reason, we're very turned on to duck news. We get all the facts.
Okay, this current article from the Guardian.com. A bald eagle on Canada's west coast has learned that its eyes may be bigger than its stomach after it was nearly drowned by an octopus trying to eat. After hearing shrieks coming from the water on the northwestern tip of Vancouver Island, employees at a fish farm investigating the noises happened upon a bird and a cephalopod locked in battle. The giant Pacific octopus, which had turned a deep crimson. I didn't know they did that until they were boiled.
I don't care for them. I don't like them.
Basically,
big old brains with too many arms. I don't like them. Sort them out.
Sort them out.
Sort them out. Anyway.
It's who was the man involved? John Eilert.
What, a man got involved?
Moe West, Canada.
What was he? Just a Canadian fisherman? He just saw it like, we better, but I don't know what they say up there. Can't be doing.
Realising the eagle was likely to drown, the crew decided to intervene. Eilert manoeuvred a pike pole in the water to pull the octopus over to the boat. The crew managed to hold both aboard, disentangling the bird from the strong tentacles before tossing the octopus back into the water.
I thought you were just going to say, like, I know how I'll save this bird, stab it with the pike. Get me the bird stabbing pike. We need to save this poor boy.
I mean, that's the old trick, isn't it?
Stab him in the chest.
It was a very cool situation, said Eilert. I've been out here 20 years, and that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Oh, that's nice.
I imagine he doesn't see a lot.
Just water. Right. Who are you here to discuss?
I don't know. What about this Dave the Duck story? I think we should give that just a minute.
His knob fell off because he's a duck.
He's vigorously rogering his neighbours far too much.
His knob fell off.
Because
ducks are rapists. They're cute and they're fun.
That's true.
They're quite badly behaved.
They've got gigantic, proportionally big corkscrew-shaped penis, but also the female duck vagina is equally unusually shaped with all sorts of dead ends and that sort of thing going on.
Like one of those mazes that they used to get you to join in a Little Chef so you wouldn't notice that your parents were going through a divorce.
They're quite unusual in the bird world. 95% of
Where did that come from?
From Little Chef.
Oh,
they used to have a little
there you go.
These days it's Wetherspoon.
So this is far funny. I was hoping you'd pick this one. When Josh Watson's duck Dave couldn't stop having sex, he was reluctant to intervene. But Dave's antics led to him injuring his penis and getting an infection, so now it's had to be removed.
What did he do now? Did he just rub his stump against passing birds?
Well, I'll tell you if you...
Yes, please, hurry up.
Before his injury, Dave was mating with his friends Dora, Frida and Edith up to 10 times a day. Josh noticed that the end of his penis had died and took him to the vet.
That's where bloody polyamory will take you.
Well placed. Basically, the medicine didn't take. Usually, when they're outside of the mating season, they... it's meant to sort of shrink down, but in this case it didn't.
Wait, they gave him knob shrinking cream and they were surprised that it went wrong.
Yeah, Josh from Torquay, Devon said, I could try and do an accent. He's doing fine now. He's quite resilient for a duck.
Doesn't have a knob though.
The only downfall is that he's lost his willy. I think he's pretty upset about it. I think he's an nymphomaniac. He's got quite a high sex drive, basically, so I think that's what's caused it.
What does he do now? Just rub his duck balls on the others when they're asleep?
He's had it removed. There's about a centimetre left.
Oh.
And
well, he's on par with me.
There's a picture of him, but not his willy.
Oh, bless him.
There you go.
He looks really defensive now they've taken his genitals off him.
Yeah, he's keeping it away from the camera.
Now, who are we here to discuss?
Just moving your laptop so that you're not blocking the mic.
Yeah, stop
sure.
blocking the mic.
Now he's had the operation. Sonia one of the vets said that it shouldn't have too much of an impact on him in the future. He can still urinate. He just has stopped humping everything.
No.
That's the less fun use for that area.
Yeah.
Unless you're into that.
Oh, well,
Pissstocks.com. Can we buy piss stocks?
Piss ducks.
Someone's got to be.
Can I submit
like a
one
hockey
more?
team?
I'm going to
Oh,
submit
piss
one more
ducks.
candidate for Mad Bastard of the Week.
Oh God.
Which in this case, it's from probably about a month ago now, I
Is it
expect.
just one of your friends?
No, it's not. This is actually something I think we can all respect, and my hat is off to this man.
Is it Hitler?
No, it's not Hitler.
Good old Hitler.
Where would it be? Anyway, so you may all be aware, you probably all are. There was a terrorist attack on London Bridge,
Oh.
and
Oh,
a
right,
few
gentlemen.
certain gentlemen had a very
Stop blowing your nose, Matt.
admirable response to this terrorist attack. So this bloke took 2 kitchen knives or 2 big knives of some sort
Taped them
onto
to his
London
hands.
Bridge, started slashing at people. Did he tape them to his hands? I
Yeah,
didn't
it
know.
is.
Yeah.
That's why we couldn't disarm him.
And he had
kept
a,
stamping on his hands trying to get him to let go.
No, fair enough. He had a fake suicide vest
It's
on
like
as
a
well.
shit version of the T1000.
And there were a few bystanders that chose to intervene. One was a Polish chef
yes.
who
Yes.
saw the commotion outside, ripped a tusk from a narwhal whale off the wall of his restaurant, ran outside using it as a spear.
They were there for a conference or something, weren't they? At the local fish
Was he? I don't
place.
know. Fair enough.
There was a whole
Never
bunch of
mind.
them there.
I've probably
Yeah.
read one of those exaggerated stories of exactly who he was, but
You'll never
was
guess what he did next.
you'll never guess what he did next. Click to find out. So
He's a hero of ours.
yeah, he's certainly my hero. He was a Polish chap called Lucas. I don't know his full name.
On
but
that day, the winged hussars arrived. That's what happened.
exactly, like the winged hussars of
The
old.
spirit of the true Polish.
This man took a
cavalry.
tusk, ran outside,
He
and
just
attacked
heard
the
danger
terrorists
and
with it.
grabbed and just picked something long and pointy.
There was also
There's danger!
yeah.
Probably the same reaction he's had all his life. It's just this is a one time the narwhal tusk was actually needed.
This is hard
Have
life.
you guys ever seen those memes with James May from Top Gear, where it's like the man who sleeps with the machete is the fool
yeah.
every night but one?
Yeah,
I think the man who sleeps with a narwhal tusk on the wall of his restaurant is a fool every night but one.
fair play to that man for
Yeah.
leaping into danger.
So there's a video of this event. You should. I encourage you to watch this on YouTube. Now, as reenactors, we know how to use a spear. Each of us has used
Yeah,
a
he
spear.
was really going for it.
He had good spear discipline, and there's a
Yeah.
shot I really like where he.
How was his footwork and
Yeah.
his breathing?
Yeah, he absolutely just jams this spear into the guy's gut, and you can see the terrorist stagger back and collapse.
Yeah.
So he landed a really fucking
He
good
felt
hit.
the power of the sea mammal.
Yeah, so Lucas, my hat is off to you, sir, wherever you are.
I'll
We
drink to
all
that.
know your drink.
I will gladly buy you
Also,
several
2
drinks.
people did die, and that's quite sad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But many more could have. If
Anyway.
they hadn't
If
been
the tusk of the sea wasn't there to save them.
the tusk. There should be a.
We
pub named after
haven't
him.
mentioned, but we're very fond of the Polish people.
We are.
We record this every day after eating their meat.
Indeed.
Yes, made from real.
That doesn't mean that we capture people and eat them like, we need their courage.
Yeah.
No, please.
Made,
But anyway,
by
so-
the Poles of the Poles.
I think that concludes our. I think that was about 15 minutes now. Mad
Right.
Bastard of the
Fucking
Week.
hurry it up.
Introductory.
Hey, fucking hurry it up, hey.
Right, so, Matt, who have you brought for us this week?
Okay, I have Richard Harris, who.
Who was he?
Well, I'll get
What
straight
he
into it.
done? What was he about?
Oh, I'll just sum it up like that, shall I?
Yeah.
I've got several pages of fucking things that can not be answered in a one
Would it be more amusing
sentence answer.
if I spent weeks harassing you into researching and then just go, who is he? What he done?
No,
And
I'd
that's it.
stab you with a narwhal tusk. Don't forget you already did that during that episode where you got completely
Oh, yeah.
hammered.
Don't
And I had
listen.
to bloody... Thankfully, Benji was there in the background actually laughing away.
Yeah, don't
It was my
listen
uncanned
to-
laughter on the sofa.
Don't listen to episode 5 because I ruined it. By being
That's why I have to
Episode
do
5
another
was,
one.
Episode 5 was
You
great.
prat.
Yeah, that one.
Anyway,
the time
Matt,
I
who
was
have you got for us? Come on.
Yeah, I have Richard Harris, the late great actor, who, well, I'll get straight into it. Ooh, you're
Sorry.
cracking open a nice cold one there.
I'm a
Was he
delicious
the-
Conan Borg.
He was
Sorry.
Dumbledore in the
He
first
was,
two.
he
He
Harry
certainly
Potter movies.
was,
Yeah.
yeah.
The original Dumbledore before Dumbledore.
Yep, we will
Went
touch
all
on
mental.
that.
Before
Was-
Dumbledore became Michael. Gambon.
Ah! But we'll talk about that
Well, he
later.
was an old wheezy Dumbledore with Richard Harris.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Grandpa,
I mean, well,
Grandpa told me how fought
Wait.
in the Muggle Wars.
no, when you actually learn about who the man
On the
was,
front lines, chucking walls through people's windows.
he's known as people know him as the original gentle Dumbledore, and you'll learn through this episode, the man was a lunatic. But I was just like, hurry,
Harry! Harry! Have you found my jersey? This mirror shows you what everyone desires the most. Traps! Oh, what could it be? I've got the tendency to pass out halfway through a sentence. Harry Potter! Have you found my broomstick? I left it somewhere along the canal. Harry! I talk like a nonce, but I'm not really. Harry!
And then there was the new Harry, the new bloody Dumbledore, who I think wasn't actually as good. It was meant to be like sexy action Dumbledore.
I do like Michael Gambon.
I don't, because there's a bit in the books, everyone's seen the bloody meme, where it says, Harry? Dumbledore asked Dumble Harry? No, that's...
He's some weird morphed-together genetic beast that conjoined at the face.
If you're silly enough to go on DeviantArt, then you'll find what that means.
Dumble Harry.
Yeah, people want
I've totally misunderstood what
but that's everything. But yeah, there's a bit where it's
no.
Yeah, never mind. Harry, Dumbledore asked
I don't
gently,
condone that kind of nonsense.
In
my half of the podcast.
Well, yeah, let's shelve that idea.
Yeah, let's get straight into it, shall we?
The fictional character of Dumbledore is not a paedophile.
Caffeine high lass.
She'll bloody change it next week, though.
Yeah.
Right. None of your bloody harassment tactics, you little screeve. Well, I know what that means. I just made it up.
That's like something an American would make up that British people say. Hello, toodle, pip, pip.
Just tell us about Richard Harris.
All right,
what is he?
I'm trying.
What is a
Come on, Simon. Come on.
All right, shut up. And then don't shut up because I need you to talk. Born in Limerick on October even, the 1st, 1930, Richard St. John Harris was one of 8 children born to Ivan Harris, a flour mill owner, and his wife Mildred Josephine Harty. I will bust out a quote.
Nice and early on. Bloody book.
I am taking my inspiration for the actual... The main bit is from the Irish Post. I can't remember the author's name. I can look it up later.
For this one, we use one author for everything at the moment because he's very good.
I'm using quotes from the book An A to Z of Hellraisers by Robert Sellers,
who also bloody wrote the Book of Reed.
Well, that's a nice full circle moment, though.
Tried and tested,
which is now an Audible.
Okay.
Very good.
About his early life, he was born in Limerick, Ireland, into a large brood of 7 brothers and sisters. Often he'd get lost amid the scrum, so learning early on to be a rabble-rouser was the only way he could make his presence felt in the household.
Just a naughty boy.
Sometimes he'd run away, sleeping rough outdoors. No one ever came looking for him, and he'd return meekly to his bedroom.
Oh, bless him.
But all of this fostered a feeling of neglect and isolation.
Oh, God, that's not nice.
I never got to know my parents, and they never got to know me. He was Irish. I'm trying to do the Richard Harris bad accent.
I can't do his voice.
School and Harris didn't mix either. He never quite got his head around academia, and so hit out instead, getting expelled for setting fire to the toilets and attacking a nun with a ruler.
There, we've all been there.
Yeah, I went to Catholic
that's
school.
That's just fun and games, boys?
Smack, nun with... Well, I suppose nuns...
They don't like 30 centimetres up them, I say.
To be fair, historically, nuns have hit a lot of Irish children with rulers, so it was high time an Irish child hit a nun back.
What's your best nun joke?
I don't have any nun joke. I did go to school at nuns, though, so there we go, boys. But it wasn't
as funny as I like to think.
No, it was a bit shit. It was an associated sixth form. I went to a Protestant school and we joined up with the Catholic school, and there were nuns there, and we were basically told, leave the nuns alone. And that was about it. And every now and again you'd see them, and I'd see them out the window and go, "That's the nuns! Nuns! Nuns!
Pimps! Pimps!"
And yeah, bless them, they kept to themselves. Because I should bloody hope so, because the pedo enablers.
I've got a nun joke. You want to hear it?
Yes.
2 nuns going down a cobbled street on a tandem bike, and one says, "Oh, I've never come this way before," and the other one goes, "Yeah, I think it's the cobbles."
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, man.
Hey! Well, that's the sort of thing that your Uncle Barry would enjoy at Christmas, like. Hey! It's because she's fucking sex mad, eh? We small fucking mixes. What's the price? She done. She fucking glued out many years ago. Don't worry about that.
Get the dog out of the teapot. Oh, fuck you. Anyway.
You know I cut my wrist last Christmas. Don't worry about
that. Cut my hand off. It was that butternut squash.
Continue.
Right. A talented
go on,
rugby
Simon. Have a
player.
biscuit. There
Stop giving me biscuits.
A
Carry on,
talented
mate.
rugby
Yeah, mate,
player, Harris played alongside Keith Wood's father, Gordon. Keith Wood, I don't know who that is. It's someone of importance, I presume, from Ireland.
Rugby man.
His father, Gordon, at Crescent College in Limerick and represented Munster schools and Munster under-20s. He also played for Gary Owen and was tipped to play for Ireland, but his hopes of playing professionally were curtailed after he developed tuberculosis as a teenager.
He was a big bloody boy, though, wasn't
He had
he?
the consumption.
Oh, that consumption.
Did he cough into a handkerchief and just leave old spots of red?
That's the disappointing thing about TB. They make it sort of very
I
romantic.
got the consumption, Margaret.
So, but in films, it's always
My
either...
days are numbered. I would never gone fired in the old corral, OK Corral again.
It's always either there's a cowboy man, a lady who's fallen in love with a young man, but they can't be together because she's got the
I could
consumption.
have done great things, but
They-
I'm a longer.
But in films, like, they always just cough into a handkerchief. There's a little bit of blood. In real life, you cough up chunks and you shit yourself.
Yeah, you would.
It's the same as I used to like the idea of being a syphilitic author. Like, oh my love, the love has killed me, ironically, and it
My
turns
love
out.
is on a steamboat board for the horizon.
Oh, Steamboat Willie took my Willie away.
And he was a mouse as well. I don't know what kind of bestial nature that relationship
It
with
was
that
my
was.
mistake to try to make love to an animated mouse.
Oh, I can feel
That's
the
what-
tension. Can you feel it in my plums? It was,
we will one day
Anyway,
return to that. But
yeah, with the bluish hue.
Look, talk about Harris, because you're ruining this.
I'm not ruining
Poor
it.
Stefan,
You're-
he's drinking his way through this nonsense.
Yeah, it's the only way. As
I'm
well
going
as
quite fast,
rugby,
actually.
He's drinking like a Chechen veteran on his birthday. Look at him. The
Chechen-
boys should be here, but they're gone.
Why did the Chechen cross the road?
I don't
As
know.
well as rugby, he
Why?
was also, never you mind,
Oh, none of my business.
because his house was bombed, probably.
Yeah.
As well
They
as
had a
rugby,
bad
he
time.
was also an accomplished racquetball player, winning the Tivoli Cup in Kilkee County, Clare.
I assume that
Kilkee.
means something important, but it's in Irish terms. which
Kilkee
means nothing.
County Clare. I do know where Clare is. An unsurpassed 4 years in a row, from 1948 to 51. That's
Yeah.
some time back now.
He was one of those athletic people.
Harris would later portray a rugby player on screen in his breakthrough role.
Yes, big
That's
film.
of bellicose rugby league star Frank Matchin in This Sporting Life,
Which you should watch.
1963.
It's a good bloody film.
Which should. He's an angry man in it, isn't he? Which saw him nominated for an Oscar. He also played a footballer in 1971 film Bloomfield, which he directed, I do believe.
Ah.
Because he wanted to be a director.
Get to the silly shit. Let's hear some silly shit. What he done? What he done?
Well, this section's called his first stage role. While recuperating from TB, he spent his time reading, developing a love for the arts. Originally having ambitions to be a director,
Ah.
he instead...
What is
Sorry,
that?
I went a bit silly then.
That's a
It's
weird.
the coffee! It's the coffee!
That's actually a weird thing because we're both from Yorkshire. If you're from Yorkshire, yeah, there we go. What I don't understand about Matt though is that he can drink gallons of alcohol, but you give him a cup of tea, and he's like, "I've gone silly now."
Yeah, I know. I don't know how it
twitching.
works.
My fingers are going
Is,
all
is
over
this,
the place.
is this time to tell everyone about why Matt's not allowed coffee?
Why aren't I allowed?
Well,
on,
you
then.
went. When we used to live together, I remember Matt got very worried about his heart rate, and then went to a doctor.
palpitations I got.
Palpitations
I got.
All right, Yoda.
I do remember you said. I mean, this is what you told me, and this is how I remembered it.
Right.
But you said you couldn't sleep and your heart rate felt weird, and a
Yeah.
doctor talked you through your nightly routine. That she said, "So what do you do before you go to bed?" You went, "Well, I have a pint of tea, and then then I can't sleep and my heart goes weird."
No, that was bedtime tea.
Oh,
That's not your
bedtime
average
tea.
tea. It's that sleepy time pucker tea, which I quite like. But I used to keep a tankard next to the bed, drink half of it, go to sleep, wake up needing the toilet, and because I had to get up to go to the toilet,
You have
I'd
some
be
tea.
up, so I had some more.
Yeah.
I keep drinking these pints of tea, and I wake up and eat all awake, wide awake at 3 in the morning.
There's no explanation. I don't, the marvel.
It's a medical mystery, isn't it?
This is
The
like
mysteries of the medical world.
there's a silly boy we know who used to have 7 cans of Monster a day and had seizures.
Yeah, it's stupid. He is blonde.
Oh, how dare you? That's an insult to my people.
And mine as well. I guess.
What the master race? No, I was going to say he is Welsh, but that doesn't mean much either.
Mm.
That means negative things. Unless you're Welsh and you want to listen to this, in which case You did your best as a country, but it won't work without us.
I've forgotten where I got.
All
to
right,
now.
carry on talking about Harris. I mean,
You're our shit kidney.
originally having ambitions to be a director.
that was the one. Yeah.
Hurry up.
He instead took. No, I shall slow down. He instead turned his attention to acting. He moved to England in 1954, studying at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art after being turned down by RADA.
Like Hitler was.
He then... Was he?
No, bloody art school wouldn't have him. It was weird. He was shit at drawing, and then they said, "Sorry, you can't really come to drawing school because you're not good enough at drawing." And he read that letter and just went, "Jews!" And then there was a world war.
His paintings sold for quite a lot recently, actually. Some of his old paintings.
That's got to be
German
haunted.
Shepherds.
It was just generic stuff like buildings, I think, and fences and that sort of
What's
stuff.
really depressing is that psychologists
fucking
have
boring.
studied his paintings and they tried to make something of them. They just said that he was just a middling artist. He did all right, but it wasn't
I
spectacular.
think he was just very
Bless him.
unremarkable in just about everything apart from his speeches, maybe.
Yeah, he wasn't a happy man.
I've heard Mein Kampf isn't that good.
No, surprisingly, it's not that well written. I mean, the content's fine, but
I've never read it, I'm proud to say.
It's surprisingly, it's not very
It's not
nice.
on my bookshelf, not
No,
on my recommended list.
no. Since I left the Labour
Have you
Party,
got Mein
it's not
Kampf?
mine
I'm
either.
looking for Mein Kampf.
But anyway,
Is it
you were
not?
saying.
Don't. You can read
Right.
Mein Kampf, but don't take it on board because it's
Yeah,
naughty.
He was being turned down by RADA. He then joined Joan Littlewood's theatre workshop and made a stage debut in Brendan Behan's The Quare
Ooh,
Fellow
he
at the
will be-
Theatre Royal in 1956.
Brendan Byrne will be another character on this podcast.
Really?
He was a drunk man.
Oh, cool. He would have got on well with old Richard Harris then. The character he played, Mixer, is a 50-year-old man, but that didn't stop Harris, who was then 25, from blagging an audition.
Is this just because he was around in the 70s?
Yeah.
And
Maybe.
people were just older then.
Well, it says, borrowing money to call the producers, he told them, "I look fucking 50. I haven't had a good meal in 4 months and I haven't slept for days. Just take a fucking look at me," he said over the phone.
And they let him have the job.
He got the audition and the part. Just yelling at them drunkenly down the phone.
I mean,
I like that.
That's how you should get most jobs. Just turn up drunk and get aggressive, and they were like, "He means business."
That is the way forward. Someone says, "You don't look 50. I look fucking 50.
Think that's
All right,
what,
kids, stay back. We'll
What I
give
should
you
do
the
in the
part."
next interview. Just like, you don't have any experience with the regional sales director. I fucking look like one. Oh, okay, all right.
I could do that. I'll bash you in the face, you scubberly lover.
That's the kind of maverick attitude we want here at Sales Corps.
I'm Irish. The job's yours.
Go on.
I don't know what I mean by that, but it's fantastic. I'd love to be Irish.
I'm a little bit, unfortunately.
I think
No, it's good. It's good.
I think I have a touch of the Irish. I met my first Irishman in the local pub when I was about 17.
I remember when an Irish person threw a potato at you. It was quite funny.
Oh, they were aiming for the our friends, but they hit us. And the only people who wanted to sing Irish folk songs with us that night were the Poles.
Because the Poles love a bloody sing song, and we love
They
them.
bloody do. We love
They'll
them.
continue.
I love the Irish as well. They're lovely people. The ones I've met anyway. They eat a lot of bacon and they drink Strongbow. And they don't
Oh,
fit stereotypes, but they
They're
do like
sort
to
of my
fight.
people.
So this section's called A Man of Many Talents. It wasn't just at acting where Harris excelled. Multi-talented, he also released several albums, including the Richard Harris Love album.
Oh, we need to talk about his singing career later.
Yeah, we'll
We
have
will
like a
discuss it.
6.5 or something.
If people want us to, we'll do
On
a karaoke.
Raglan Road. Well, he
Have
wouldn't have
you,
sung that
have
'cause
you
that was...
read the fucking lyrics of his hit song?
No.
Were you planning on discussing it later? Am I ruining anything?
Maybe, because I was going to say next.
Didn't he do MacArthur Park or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I left the
Including...
cake out
Cake
in
out
the
in the
rain.
Well,
I'll never find the
Yeah, I was just going to talk about
recipe
that, actually.
Sorry about that.
He released several
Shit
albums,
song.
including the Richard Harris Love album, as well as singles from his movies. His 7-minute-long single, MacArthur Park, 1968.
Which was a hit.
It was an unexpected hit. Stop preempting my bloody lines.
Can I tell you a story about that
Reaching
later?
number 4 in the British charts.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, you can talk about it now.
A reporter, when he was on his tour for bloody MacArthur Park, he went on tour with one song, which is mental. But he was already a famous actor, so people want to see him anyway. And this reporter went in to interview him, and he had, I don't know if you can take groupies anymore, ladies who wanted to do a sex with him because he was famous. I don't know.
That was everyone.
Yeah, but
Lady or not.
man, woman, or child, they all wanted to be. No,
Have you seen him?
no.
Because when he was in his prime, he was a large fella.
He was a giant man.
Tall, and he was sort of not classically brawny like Marlon Brando.
He was like a sexy Hagrid, wasn't he?
He had a sort of rough cut charm to him.
But apparently this reporter went in to see him, and he was receiving an act of oral love whilst listening to his own song.
Or something.
That's a bit weird.
That's a bit weird, yeah. I mean, half the DJs I know who are in bands, they don't like to play their own music, and if he's...
I mean, to be fair, I masturbate to this, but that's weird. So, I don't remember.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, my octopus stories.
Sorry, I've derailed this. Continue.
You keep doing that. No, it's
Stefan's fiddling with
Sorry.
the biscuit box.
Fiddling with the biscuits.
Take the plastic off them.
That's a good idea. Sorry,
Look at
listeners.
this.
Sorry, he does this all the time. Do you ever get women or somebody apologising about their spouse? They just go, "Sorry, I'm sorry."
I can't take him anywhere.
To be fair, that's normally spouses apologising for me, which why they're no longer spouses.
Look at them, they're the right state. You can't take him anywhere. Ooh.
I'm sorry he's eating all the bacon here. He's had a drink. Ah, they've got bacon here. Look at all this bacon. I put them in my sleeves.
Enough bacon to fill a small
It looks
tureen.
like I'm a Tudor man with sleeves and a wrap made of bacon.
Where's my eating spike?
Surprisingly, we're not together anymore. Sorry, go ahead.
Number 4 in the British charts, that got to. In 1973, he released a book of poetry, which is called I, in the Membership of My Days.
Oh my God.
That same year, he won a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Recording for his audiobook of Richard Bach's novella, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I'm just going to wipe my nose, because I've got a
For
cold.
God's sake. Matt and his...
I've got a cold.
I mean, the biggest problem with this podcast is Matt's crippling cocaine problem.
I've never taken cocaine.
Yes, you.
But I was walking down,
You haven't had
the
the
hill
old...
from where the Connor House is in Nottingham. I was walking down the street there, and there was a bloke coming the other way up the street, and I thought, how funny would it be if I yelled at him, "I'm not on cocaine!" And he saw what he does, what he did, rather. And I didn't do that. But while I was thinking about it, I did burst out laughing out loud in front of him, which he seemed to think was equally as strange.
That's quite creepy.
Well, you may as well have just shouted it then, to be honest.
Yeah, because I had a cold then, I was just sniffing a lot, so I thought, just for courtesy's sake, I should shout, "I'm not on cocaine!"
Tell me about Tricky Dick Harris.
Wait, Dan. This section's called Threats from Loyalists and Republicans.
Oh, God.
In the biography Behaving Badly, written by somebody else, so it wouldn't have been in his voice, Cliff Goodwin says that in 1970, Harris was a target for loyalist paramilitaries who believed he was sympathetic to the IRA. Harris himself later claimed he was a target for the IRA itself over his bid to curb fundraising for the organization in the US, telling a libel hearing in 1988.
That's pretty ballsy.
Yeah, someone has to take a stand against the IRA. The killing must stop.
Fuck.
I've had 6 threats on my life so far this year, and now they will start again because of what I am saying.
I didn't know that about him. Like, I knew he was a fighty man, but I didn't know he actually stood up to terrorists.
Yeah, I thought I'd keep this in because
brave.
he was quite a ballsy
individual. That is a big dick move.
He did a lot that was not good. But,
I mean, we know he had a big will. He was a tall man. He was very much a Liam Neeson of his day. But
we don't know that about Oliver Reed. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. No one can agree.
Well, anyone who saw his willy when he kept getting it out.
Well,
in
yeah,
that
but they all
scene.
turned their heads away and shocked.
Yeah.
Nah, they can't all have done.
The
all of them.
The consensus was
he went
that
around
it was
with this on pixel squares.
I can talk about this. Because I'm quite the expert on Reed these days. The consensus is that it must have been disappointing the average. Because like a lot of people said they were expecting it either to be massive or hilariously tiny, and it was just a knob.
Somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
It was just a knob. And that's a real shame.
Just a knob.
I know.
Harris would in fact play a fundraiser for the IRA in 1992 film Patriot Games. I don't know why it says 1992 film Patriot Games bracket 1992 bracket.
Probably because you copied and pasted off Wikipedia, you nod.
No, I took it from the Irish Post. This part anyway.
Can't
And
trust the
also-
Irish Post, it's Irish.
He also played an IRA member in Shake Hands with the Devil, 1959, and A Terrible Beauty, 1968. So he played an IRA member,
Quite a few.
at least a couple of times.
Exactly to make bloody money, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Off.
Harris
the
was
terrorists.
Harris was vocal about his pride in his
sorry.
nationality. Goodwin saying that he once told the Sunday Times, "I'm proud to be called an Irishman. Why not? I'm not ashamed." Controversially, though, Harris portrayed one of the most notorious figures in Irish
did.
history, Oliver Cromwell, in a 1970 biopic.
He did a big naughty in Ireland, didn't he?
Well,
Obviously.
I don't know if I've got that, but I have got a quote about this, so I'm just going to read it. Right. Many an eyebrow was raised when Harris, the Irish nationalist, he agreed to appear in a film dramatisation of Oliver Cromwell, the man who had attempted genocide in his own country. The paradox was intriguing, and the pressure eventually got to him, combined with all the booze he was consuming,
Which we need to get into.
leading to a total breakdown. When the time came to shoot the execution of Charles I, played by Alec Guinness, Harris flipped. He woke up in his hotel room at dawn in a cold sweat, convinced they were actually about to cut off the king's head. "We must give him another chance!" Harris yelled down the phone to the director. "We must think twice about this!" A nurse was summoned, as was a psychiatrist.
Oh, no.
Acting uncontrollably, Harris was held down by people kneeling on his chest, and he was tranquilised, knocking him out for a straight 18 hours.
So he was a mad bastard.
He
My
certainly
God.
was.
Can
That's
I
amazing.
derail us with a very quick story about Oliver Cromwell?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oliver Cromwell's famous for doing quite ruthless things in Ireland and also in England. He was a bit of one of those war men from the past.
Oh, war man.
There's
There's
war
a
men.
war man.
There's a war man doing
Yeah,
war.
you don't get them so much these days, war men. Not
Right.
like war men used to be.
He was also famous within parliamentary circles at the time. He had he had one favourite practical joke. He became the Lord Protector after they killed the king. He was like,
Yep.
He was basically a king.
He
but
was
wasn't-
from the fens.
Yeah, he was running the country. He used to call people into his office and say, "Come here, I need to talk to you." And then they go in, and he'd hidden in the cupboard. And then they said they just came in laughing at the cupboard like.
Much like our Prime Minister.
Yeah, but he was a scary bastard though who would kill you. So they're that's
I
good.
can't imagine a Puritan having
You
that much
better
fun.
laugh.
I know, yeah.
That's my cupboard joke.
It was a bit like how sort of Idi Amin used to play wacky practical jokes on people.
Who?
But
The Armenian?
Idi Amin.
Oh. I thought
Forrest
you were talking
Whitaker.
about
The
Armenians.
Forrest Whitaker film, man.
Oh, I see.
But you had to laugh along because he'd kill you.
Armenians look like me, apparently.
I have been
Yes,
told
they
that
do.
by
Yes.
Armenians. They tried to take you away in the night. Like
They
Liam
took the
Neeson's
wrong
daughter.
person. She's
We
dead
fought them
now.
off.
Yeah.
They wanted
We
to take
fought
you
them
to a
off.
boat and sell to the highest bidder, which is not what they do. I'm sorry.
Well, I feel an odd connection to this guy playing one of the notorious people in Irish history, because I played a few years of the Robert Hood
did?
pageant, one of the most notorious men in English history, and it was
Who was naughty in Ireland?
King John,
King Bloody J.
the only king to be called John in English history, and we might do a bit about him.
Are we going to waste time talking about him in Ireland? Or? No.
No,
That's for later.
No.
Later.
no, how dare
Peter.
you,
There we are.
Peter?
Peter, fucking hell,
We're
Peter.
going to have to explain that now.
No, we won't. Absolutely not.
No, it doesn't involve you then.
Yeah, it does.
That's a bloody obscure reference to put in a history podcast.
Yeah, so basically, we were in a BBC thing where we were all extras. The person in charge of the extras thought my name was Peter. I was lying dead in the wrong place, and he shouted Peter for a long time. And I remember thinking, this Peter man's in trouble. He was going, Peter,
Peter
for
man.
fuck's sake,
But little
Peter.
did you realise
Peter.
you were Peter.
Yeah, I remember thinking, like, oh, Peter's fucked up. And he's like, Peter, get out of the fucking road! And then eventually someone, like, kicked me gently, went, your name's not Peter, is it? But no, it's not. Oh,
That's like
yeah,
one of those.
you nominate, you got to be dead in the edge over there.
That's one of those proper drunk uncle stories. He thought my name was Peter, but my name's not Peter.
That's like nans when they call you the wrong name. But you got to be
Oh,
nice
dear.
because they.
What, when they go through the whole list of the family names, it's
Yeah.
like Patrick, Stewart, Jonathan, Brian, Philip.
You got,
Yeah.
but you got to be nice because she's got fanny rot or whatever nans have got. Anyway,
Is that
on
what
we go.
turns them weird upstairs?
Yeah. Anyway, back to Richard Harris.
I'm just pouring a nice pint of Guinness.
That's
Um,
offensive.
Hang on.
It's cultural appropriation.
Mm.
Oh, ASMR, there we go. Which also makes me need another week because I've got
Matt,
time.
have I ever said that when you speak with an Irish accent, you remind me of Finnan from The Last Kingdom?
Finnan. They used to call me Finnan the Swift. No, fleet-footed. Something like that. I don't remember. This is my generic attempt. I once got on a bus in Limerick, and the bus driver's accent was so thick because he was a proper local, I could not tell what they were saying. That's a true story.
Mhm.
I had many a fun time in Ireland. Simon's gone for a wee.
Well,
Can we
yeah,
talk
I mean,
about his wife? Has she
no,
ever been to Ireland?
let's leave that for this episode.
Yeah.
One of my favourite Finnan quotes from The Last Kingdom is the one where Uhtred, this is spoilers for The Last Kingdom, by the way,
In the
so
TV programme.
skip ahead by like a minute or so if you don't want to have spoilers. And yeah, anyway, so Finnan says at one point when Uhtred finds out that his brother Ragnar has died, when no, it's not funny. It's a sad. How dare you laugh at that? But Uhtred finds out his brother's dead, and Finnan's like, "Oh, Uhtred, I'm so sorry." And he's
I'm
like,
so sorry.
and he's saying that it's because of this witch that he's picked up into his party. He's like, "This is her doing." And then Finnan's just like, "Uhtred, could it not just be life?" And that resonated with me really. I mean, could it not just be life? I mean, life screws you over left, right, and centre. I know this.
Death is part of life. They were.
Are you talking about Richard Harris?
He's
Yeah,
back.
yeah, we
Get
are.
bloody back to Harris, you bastard.
We didn't even
Harris,
have to
you
cut it out
bastard.
that time. Anyway, so
Yeah. So that was the quote. His career floundered somewhat in the 1980s, but he returned to form in The Field, a film called The Field, in 1990, which earned him a second Oscar nomination, though he didn't get it as far as I know. He then became known to a new generation of fans when he played Albus Dumbledore. Dumbledore! In the first two Harry Potter films.
Dumbledore, I'm sorry from lung disease. Do you want me to cough all over your rose?
He was
Because I
also-
will, you know. Harry! I bloody will.
I'm an old man,
Do you want some of this?
Well, it doesn't make sense because in the space of two films he goes,
Harry!
to
Harry! Harry! Bullseye!
Bullshit. Anyway, he was.
But he derailed me again.
But he was known for being a drinking man. Let's hear about that.
Drinking. Well, I've got a whole section about that.
Good.
We're not on it yet, though. Oh, did you hear that news of the was it state of Oklahoma or Ohio where they got the meth problem over there, and their slogan was
Oh
"Crystal
yeah.
meth, we're on it."
oh yeah, I
That
saw
was brilliant. I've got the picture of the governor of the state, like with his big cowboy hat on, just going, "We're on it."
Just with his teeth slowly
I
falling
thought
out.
that was a brilliant joke. Meth.
If they'd meant
We're
it as
on
a
it.
joke, then it might have been funny. However, I think they were just retarded.
Although, if you that's a
Oh.
naughty word. That's a naughty
You
word.
said the R word.
Also, if you are listening, don't do meth because that's bad for you.
Yeah.
Drink booze like our grandfathers did.
Drink booze. You're never alone with the booze.
Never alone with the booze, boys. Are
Yeah.
you sad? Are you sad because you drank a lot of booze? Drink more booze.
This
That'll help.
This baby's sleeping well and peacefully. That's because its mother gives it gin. Give your baby gin. and
Is
it
your
won't
baby crying? Give it some vodka. Tell it to shut the fuck up.
Has your mother
Gentlemen.
lost her lithium? Give her a
Please,
rum.
Stefan's run out of booze.
I'm out of mead.
This is the drunk Stefan episode.
Why don't you have a
I've got
ginger
a whole
wine?
bottle of ginger wine.
Ginger
Here we
wine.
go,
You
boys.
want some ginger wine, yeah?
Yeah.
Aye.
You drink what a fictional English woman drinks in the 19th century.
I say.
You should have drinking it.
Tell
Drunk
me
it.
about Richard Harris.
Drunk it.
Tell me about him, Matt. I mean, I'm drinking.
Well, you
a-
keep shouting at
Go.
me. I've lost my place now because you keep yelling.
You
at
never
me.
had a place.
The actor turned down the role of Albus Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films 3 times.
Oh.
Did I say that right? He turned it down 3
Yeah.
times, only relenting when his 11-year-old granddaughter threatened never to speak to him again.
He was like,
I
If he
couldn't be
didn't take
Dumbledore.
the part.
I'm nothing like Dumbledore. I couldn't be Dumbledore.
and then they gave him the job, and he was like,
I'm Dumbledore.
Yeah.
so yeah, it
The
works.
second time he played Dumbledore in the Harry Potter
Well, he
and
died,
Chamber
didn't
of Secrets. Yeah, it was his last live-action feature film, and the film was released in November 2002, just weeks after he died. I'll be talking more about his death at the end, obviously.
There we go.
But yeah, so he turned it down 3 times. After his death, he was replaced by fellow Irish actor Michael Gambon. I didn't know Michael Gambon was Irish.
You didn't know Gambon was on?
He got a raging Gambon.
He had a raging Gambon for the Gambeson.
I love a good Gambeson.
If you ever want to wear a Gambeson and you don't do our wacky hobby, because have we mentioned we don't wear it?
Oh, we mentioned that. I don't think we have.
They're disgusting garments. They're basically the padding that you wear under armour, and they get sweaty and they don't get clean. And mucky people use them as pillows, which you shouldn't do because you'll probably get an ear
Kind of like
infection.
wearing a big used tea bag.
Yeah, it's just wearing a big used tea bag that stops you from getting a broken collarbone.
Worst part is sweating into it the first day, hanging it up somewhere in the
that's
cold,
nice.
and then putting it on the next day.
I
All soaked in sweat and
recently
cold and sodden.
took the wrong person's Gambeson home, and the house smelled of another man's sweat, and I didn't care for it.
It's like a padded arming jacket, isn't it?
It's disgusting.
Mm. Cromwell would have worn one if he was in that time.
No, he
Instead,
wore a
probably
buff coat.
wore a buff coat. Yeah.
He actually had his throat cut once, which is very
Did he?
exciting. Yeah, at the Battle of Naseby.
What,
But
lunch?
that's a story for another day.
Over a game of cards. A
Oh
game
no,
of Tillies.
he was fighting a battle and someone was very rude and slashed him across the throat with a sword.
He
What was he
That's
playing
quite
at?
rude in a battle, isn't it? You don't do that.
You
You
wouldn't-
can't do
You
that.
can't do next. I'm telling on you. I'm getting you done.
Getting you bloody.
He probably
done.
wouldn't have played cards because he was
He was
Oh,
Puritan.
man.
He didn't enjoy anything
bipolar.
apart from stabbing the Irish. But continue. Stefan's drinking from the bottle. This is all gone to
Use
shit
the
now.
horn like a civilized man.
You've broken him down. He's
He's
like a Chernobyl technician who knows he's only got a day left.
I know. I 1 day from retirement. I know use horn. I drink gin
Well,
wine from bottle.
well,
Like
So
Retire.
my family, I went out drinking from bottle instead of using receptacle.
Well, to be fair, retirement in Chernobyl meant that you went bald and then you melted.
when I went to B&Q, I bought a torch.
My hair, it
Oh, God,
leaves
this is-
already. I do not have much time. I give this hairline 2 years.
Well, that's one thing about
That
radio.
hairline is 3 days from retirement.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
It's
None of us can boast about hairlines here.
not a
but
mullet. It's
to
not a
Rid-
mullet.
back to Richard
last
Harris. Back to Richard
Do we have
Harris.
to?
Yes.
Just kidding.
Skip the boring
Harris was. This is important. Harris also won acclaim for his roles in A Man Called Horse,
Oh, I had to watch that
1970,
at school.
and The Wild Geese, 1978.
We need to discuss. That is my favourite film.
Is it?
It bloody is the Wild
Does
Bloody
anybody get
Geese.
shot in it?
Everyone gets shot on the
Oh,
Wild.
wow, that sounds like
We're
a great
watching
book.
it today.
That's happening on Mustard Movie Night.
I love the Wild Geese since I was a child.
And he had minor but memorable roles. I'm not sure about this because I fucking loved him. In Unforgiven, 1992.
That's good.
And Gladiator, 1990.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
sorry, 2000.
You know who else was in Gladiator?
Russell Crowe.
Oliver Bloody Reed, you bastard.
Yes, he was.
He was in it in spirit to a
Shadow
certain
and
extent
dust.
because he died during the making.
And
of
you
it,
know
which we
how-
covered in episode 2.
You know how they
Was it
did-
episode 2?
I don't know. You
Yeah,
know
I
how
think
they
it was.
didn't like each other when they filmed it? Richard Harris was in Eastern Europe and Oliver Reed was in Malta, and they kept it that way for good reason.
Oh right. Oh God. Because I'll mention this again in this, but Richard Harris was still drinking at that point, but not to the extent that he was.
No. But we'll get
before.
it. Let's get straight to the drinking. That's what we're all here for.
What you want me to miss out? There's only one little bit left.
Go on,
Go on, read
it.
it.
This
Power
is called
through it.
He Was a Real Life Knight. While Harris
Oh.
missed out on 2 octopuses, Oscars,
Sexy octopi.
he did win the Best Actor award at Cannes for This Sporting Life and landed a Best Actor Golden Globe for Camelot. Having played King Arthur in Camelot, Harris became a real-life knight after he was invested into the Venerable Sovereign Order of St. John.
I hated Camelot as a child because I saw it in the Radio Times. It was like,
Camelot!
Yeah, because I mean,
They have those lottery machines.
luckily I got well out of this phase, but I was really into knights and fighting when I was a kid, and like, that's all over now. That's all done. But I saw there was a film about bloody King Arthur and all that. I thought this would be good. I like Richard Harris. He shot people in the film I like. And then it started, and there's a bit where he looks all sad, and he's got a sword. He's going to kill people, and then he just starts going Camelot, 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 dancing about, and it's a musical, and it's shit. It's shit as fuck. Now, how shit it is, it's as shit as when you shit on hemorrhoids, and it makes them worse because they get infected.
It comes out like a cross shape.
Oh,
Don't talk about the hot cross buns, are we?
Oh, that's the next
Cleft
day.
asshole.
The old tandoori taint scorcher.
The old Play-Doh
Oh.
cutter machine of an ass.
Have you ever thought about shitting into a Play-Doh thing? I mean, obviously you'd have to buy a new one. You can't steal it from a child.
Have you
that's
ever
cool.
thought of shitting into a balloon?
I haven't tried
With
that.
dropping it from a high-rise building?
I've been told that referring to an anus as a balloon knot kills the mood. But
do
never
not.
mind.
I've never
Isn't
thought
that
about
what
any of
dogs
these
have on their
things.
penis?
I haven't
Just
really inspected a
keep them
dog's
wedged
penis
in.
before.
Are you
I-
sure? That's not what I've heard.
What?
Around the,
From a browsing history, you found out
off in Harrogate, around the bike sheds.
what just looking like. Does your dog's penis have a weird bit on the end? I haven't seen one before.
Borrow your dog? It's tied up outside Iceland. You just take it around the corner for a bit of an inspect.
Yeah, well, here we go. It does look weird after all. Anyway, back to
Bring it
Richard
back.
Harris.
Dog looks tired and oddly satisfied.
That's the thing with American people. They all reckon they wanked off dogs when they were kids, and that's not normal.
Well, Harris became a real-life knight after he was invested into the Venerable Sovereign Order of St. John, which was incidentally, I think, his middle name, according to this, Knights of Malta in 1981, and was knighted by the Queen of Denmark
And we'll talk about the Knights of Malta in another episode.
in 1985. Right, this section's called Hellraiser.
Here we go. This is what we're here for. This is what we're here for.
Renowned for his drinking and hell-raising, especially with his pals Richard Burton and Peter O'Toole. He once reportedly boarded a late-night train at King's Cross, as it was the only place he could get a drink. After arriving in Leeds,
Yes.
he is said to have put a brick through somebody's window before asking to be put up for the night. He was there for 4 days, and he couldn't remember any of it.
He was a beast.
He was there for
This is
over
where it
half
put-
a week, and he couldn't remember a single thing.
This is how we should have started. This is the good shit.
Well, I thought a bit of education doesn't hurt.
Education's bad for you.
Shut up. Well, that's clear from what I'm seeing in front of me. You
Yeah.
adult!
I mean, I went to uni and all I got out of that was gonorrhea. But anyway.
At least you got something.
Yeah, I
Some
got
people just
something.
get soggy biscuit and a goodbye.
No, that's eating.
We've all been there.
What, eating the soggy biscuit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we covered ejaculating on biscuits in the Arthur Crowley one.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
did actually, yeah. And
The
pooing in the
light-
toaster.
Is
The
that
light
why?
cake.
Is that
Did
why?
you poo in the toaster again?
Is that why eating?
Time and time I've told you.
Is that why eating rugby people are quite built? Because they tend to be built lads. Is it all the protein?
It's
they
all
eat?
that
I
menstrual
don't know.
blood they eat.
Probably,
Light
yeah.
cakes,
Yeah.
obviously, because they're into Crowleyism.
I mean, this is where I went wrong. This is why I'm in such terrible shape that I don't eat.
You need to get
semen
on
with
those light
strangers.
cakes.
These are light cakes.
Yeah.
Never mind. Sorry, I've
Get
derailed
7 in
this.
a...
It was good and I
it's a
ruined it.
theme. It's a theme.
I know.
Harris recounted one tale to a
Drink
person
that
called
shit,
Gay Byrne. Don't laugh at that. That's just their name. What's funny about that?
I think he was laughing at trying to get me to drink.
He recounted one tale of how he left his house once in London to get a newspaper before returning 2 weeks later after a drinking binge in Dublin. When his wife answered the door on his return, he asked her, "Why didn't you pay the ransom?"
He's kind of like every bad dad rolled into
Yeah.
one.
At the age of 70, he was drinking in the Coach and Horses in Soho when an Irish girl accosted him for not giving back to Limerick. His
What?
son, Jared Harris, who I love as an actor.
Yes.
Jared Harris.
He's
is
in
an
bloody
awesome-
Chernobyl, so it's all sick.
I've not
he?
seen it yet, actually.
He's good and he's good in it. His voice is very similar to his dad's.
Have you seen him in The Expanse, which I'm rewatching at the moment?
I've seen bits. Well, basically, in the Expanse, he's like,
Harry, you're in space, Harry.
and
Harry, no,
Chernobyl's
he
very
never
similar.
played Dumbledore.
The
Jared
reactor's
Harris.
going to explode.
He doesn't go
Harry!
through episodes where he becomes his own dad.
You've got radiation poisoning, Harry.
I heard a theory that, with the, what do they call it, Fantastic Beasts and everything, with the young Dumbledore?
Are they the
By-
shit
The
ones I
new
haven't seen?
J.K. Rowling film
Are they the ones
adaptation.
where she makes up new things
Sort
to
of.
stay relevant?
What's his name? The fellow who plays.
Oh, bloody knobhead
Uh,
something. I don't know why.
He
I
might
don't know
listen
why
to
he's
this,
a bad
be careful.
person.
He's
I've
not
decided I
Jordan
don't like him
What's
based
his
on
name?
nothing.
Not Guy Pearce. What's his face?
Who?
The one who plays young Dumbledore in the.
Jude Law.
Jude Law, that's the one.
Oh,
I like Jude Law.
I like Jude Law. He's a good lad, I think.
Yeah.
But
It's decided.
before he was picked for the role, I heard a lot of chatter saying that Jared Harris should have played
Oh,
Dumbledore
Harry!
because Richard Harris
Harry!
played Dumbledore.
I've
And
eaten
Jared
a
Harris
jelly
could go,
baby, Harry.
Harry, I'm not coughing on you.
What would young Dumbledore be like? Would he just be breathing on people? Going,
Harry,
and be like, I'm not Harry, I'm
Harry
Harry's
got it
dad.
right.
Harry's dead. I've eaten a
Gobstopper. No, that's the wrong franchise.
I've
Yeah.
eaten a jelly bean and it tastes weird.
Was he Willy Wonka?
Oh, that was a good film.
Da, 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 da.
I'm a bit concerned about a man who invites children to go around his factory and then says, I've got an invention, you can suck it and it'll just get bigger.
Yeah, it
That
was
never
alright
mind.
when Gene Wilder did it though, with his weird falling over tumble tricks.
But
And,
this isn't related to Richard Bloody Bastard Harris, is it?
Neither are you.
Yeah, I don't know. No, he's a big man now, and I'm quite small.
Well, okay. At the age of 70, he was drinking in the coach and horses in Soho when an Irish girl accosted him for not giving back to Limerick. His son Jared Harris, who I love as an actor by the
He's
way,
very good. He's in
Yeah.
Resident Evil 2.
we should invite him over for Tea and Biscuits.
He's not coming round
So
here.
you should. This house is
The Amazon man won't come in here. No one comes in.
Jared Harris just makes me go off into
Ropey
fantasy land.
Ropey Tinder dates see the outside and they know what's up. No one comes in here.
I wish he was. No. I wish he was here. Jared Harris.
Jared Harris and Peter Dinklage, they're the two ideal guests.
They're the two big-headed good actors of our
Peter
generation.
Dinklage, I'd feel very ashamed about. Jared Harris, though, I would be happy for him.
You'd feel ashamed of Peter Dinklage.
No, I'd feel
Disgraceful.
ashamed of my current living situation and skill level
Well, no,
in the
he-
company of Peter Dinklage, who was
Pete-
awesome.
No, Peter Dinklage is a man who lived in poverty for a long time, so he'd be like, you're coming up in the world,
I mean, he's a
man.
proper actor.
He's an acting man.
Yeah, he didn't have life handed to him on a plate.
No, well,
he had
tiny
to
plate,
fight
but
for his recognition, and he's awesome.
he's a good guy. We like him.
Well, he gets parts for characters that aren't even dwarves.
He does what? Oh, sorry, but
What was that? He's
This is very bloody
the engine
interesting.
is bursting out.
He actually did his blood. This is a derailing. He did a speech where he found a lot of parts demeaning, and he wouldn't do it, and he just worked
Yeah.
in data entry for years.
Okay.
And it reached a point where he was about to be 30. And he said, "I'm going to take any acting job I can get, even if I hate it, because then I'll be acting." And he ended up in parts that he hated, like Elf and stuff like that. But from that, he got into stuff like
Chronicles of
Game of Thrones.
Narnia as well, I think.
Chronicles of
Yeah.
Narnia plays a dwarf.
Well, actually, some of that nonsense did actually fund. He made a film called The Station Agent that he wrote, and it's very bloody. It's depressing, but it's good.
To be fair, he ended up as Tyrion Lannister, which is
So it was
arguably
worth
the
it.
king of all dwarf roles.
I think
Tyrion
him beating up
Lannister
Will Ferrell
changed.
in an amusing way, just his little suit,
It
was worth
must
it.
have changed.
Get
the
back
whole-
to Harris!
It must have changed the whole political, social, and sort of acting.
He's a
world
sexy tiny man.
For dwarves.
For
Can you
little
say
people like
dwarves?
that. Little people?
I think you can say dwarves.
Because
I
little
have the
people
utmost
sounds
respect for it.
insulting. Like, you're a
Isn't
little man.
dwarfism the name of the condition? I can't remember.
It's like when people say people of colour. I don't like that phrase. I
This
think-
is
If he ever listens
derailed
to
on
this,
Harris.
he'll understand that we respect him and we think he's a
Peter
legend.
Dinklage will not listen to our podcast. We get 20 listens, and half
We've
of
got
them-
188 likes on our Facebook page, so
Yes,
Mo-
please like and subscribe.
most of the listens we get
Because-
are me getting blackout drunk and worrying that I'll say something racist that'll make me lose my job, so I search through it to find it.
That's
What
also your
was
last
that?
job
I mean,
interview.
No! No!
Was
that
how
that
you got
phrase
your last
brings
job?
one thing to mind in my echoic memory, which is just glug 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 glug, and then Matt going, Simon's just poured a pint of wine.
Yes, and nothing can go wrong after you've poured a pint of Chardonnay. What's annoying is my dad listens to this
hell.
sometimes, and I thought, oh no, he'll hear me being very drunk, he'll be disappointed. And I phoned him up and said, don't listen to it. I said, I have listened to it, Simon. Fucking Chardonnay!
Chardonnay, I'm ashamed of you.
Wait, your dad's
You're
actually
brought up
listens
better
to the
than that,
podcast?
old hair
Yeah, and
gate.
his
That's
review
great, I
of me
love
getting
that.
embarrassingly drunk and saying terrible things was just Chardonnay.
I think my dad's listened to it as well.
Chardonnay!
I really bloody hope my dad hasn't.
But
You
anyway,
were
sorry,
Geordie girl
we've
on her
definitely
18th
derailed this a
birthday.
lot, so do you want to carry on with Harris?
His son, Jared Harris.
Yeah, wrap it up, Matt, like your fucking dad did.
Okay. Well, he didn't wrap it up, it was unwrapped.
Exactly,
That's
what we're
why
about,
Matt's
you know.
here.
Yes. His son, Jared Harris, relayed the story to the Telegraph of basically what happened with this Irish girl
What
and
did you
Richard
do?
Harris. Richard Harris said, I really am a very forgiving man, he said to her. I can forgive ignorance and I can even forgive rudeness, but I can't forgive ugliness, and you're the ugliest woman I have ever seen. Now fuck off! Her boyfriend then intervened. Jared Harris said, as Dad was standing up, he sucker punched the boyfriend and knocked him out. Did you hear that? He sucker punched him and knocked him out.
How old was Richard Harris?
70.
Nice.
That's what it says at the start. So he's 70 years
Sorry,
old.
how old was the guy he knocked out?
Oh, I don't know.
Roughly.
You'd
assume.
Well,
Probably about
there
30.
was an Irish girl, so I presume it was a relatively young man.
That's pretty good, man.
So, yeah. Well, Richard Harris had a ton of fights. He actually had loads
He knew how
of
to land a
fights.
punch out. That's fair.
Can he go into the Fighting Grandpa Hall of Fame?
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Grandpa!
We love
He even
the Fighting
sounds
Grandpa.
like that.
Grandpa! Harry! Harry!
Harry!
Harry!
Harry, do you want to fight with Grandpa?
Harry, I punched your cock again, Harry!
Harry,
Harry, the law wants me!
I fought a dragon, I sucker punched him as I was standing up.
Harry, the mirror shows you what you most deeply desire. Does it show you fighting with me? It does, doesn't it?
You must fight me now.
I nutted a hippogriff, Harry. It was looking at my wife. Oh, my wife, you know.
What would he be like in that world where Harry's just like, I heard you knew my father.
Your father was a cunt, Harry, and you're a little cunt. I'm going to hit you.
Those Gringotts goblins are funding the IRA.
You heard it here first. I think. Whoa! I made Simon go bright purple.
This hasn't happened before.
So, you heard it here first, Harry.
Can you imagine?
Don't shop at Gringotts. Shop. Don't find the Gringotts. They're all funding the IRA, so they are.
Can you imagine Richard Harris wading through a horde of Gringotts goblins, fucking fighting them and yeeting them off the railway tracks into the waterfall?
Why does your fucking bag smell of marzipan? It's because you've got fucking Semtex.
Those Claymore mines shoot golden galleons, I'm telling you.
Gringotts IRA goblins. I never would have thought that had come up on.
Oh. I don't know.
Continue.
Yeah, okay.
Fucking hell. Alright, carry on.
Yeah, he basically called her the ugliest woman I've ever seen. Now, fuck off. The boyfriend then intervened and he said, as Dad was standing up, he sucker punched the boyfriend and knocked him out, said Jared. So then the woman started running around shouting, Dickie Harris has killed my boyfriend! And Dad took his Guinness and chucked it into the young man's face. When the man came
To
round,
wake him up.
when he came round, he said, he's not dead! So
He was
I've got
70.
yeah, 70
That's
years old.
amazing.
But if you know how and where to land a blow, you're going to be pretty good at it.
Yeah, God.
Right,
If you
okay.
land on the back of your head anyway.
I've got a few quotes if you want to hear them.
Here we go. Is this from Tricky Dicky D? H, sorry.
Oh, actually, this one's very fitting. Harris probably lost more fights than he won. I was dangerous. You'd have to knock me out to beat me. I would whack you with a glass if it was
Find
necessary.
away, Stefan!
Yeah. This quote, this is written by Robert Sellers, so it's just the way
He does good
writes.
research, though.
Returning home one night completely blotto, when his
What are you doing?
Whoa. When his wife...
Stefan's fucking lost it and has crinkled up.
Do you want to
on
hear
his
this
seat.
song?
Yes,
Not-
I do.
Sorry.
Yeah. When his wife...
Stefan's had a lemonade, he's gone mad.
It's
Here we
not
go.
lemonade. I've had 2 horns of maiden ginger wine. Thank you very much.
Well, I hope you enjoy
Let this
Sorry.
poor boy read his
Continue.
book.
Please continue.
Right, when returning one night, blotto, meaning drunk. When his wife Elizabeth made an innocuous remark about his condition, Harris threw a wardrobe at her.
Yeah, that's quite bad.
That's bad. I mean, many times we've said these are the kind of people you'd like to observe from a distance, but not be around.
He was a 70s man, so that wouldn't have been an IKEA one that'd break on her.
Oh, yeah, that would be an old sort of family oak or pine wardrobe from the...
made out of the
days
boat
ago.
Grandad died on, yeah.
Yeah, basically.
He really wasn't very good to his wife, and I do not condone that kind of shit.
Yeah, if you listen to this, don't do domestic violence.
Well, basically,
Yeah.
these guys, they're sort of
I mean,
funny
unless
hindsight
they're having
for
a
the
go.
funny bits, but at the same time, none of this is good behaviour.
It's quite naughty. Don't throw wardrobes at your spouse.
So yeah, he went down in my estimation for this sort of behaviour. I imagine he would have done that to just about anyone, but he doesn't really excuse it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was also not unknown for him to rush into fast-moving traffic on main roads and mindlessly attack passing cars with his bare fists.
What, he used to just stand in traffic
Yeah,
and
I know
punch
this.
cars?
Punch
He just
cars.
used to punch
Fucking
cars.
hell.
I've got more car punching to come. Terribly mangled one late one afternoon, Harris staggered into the bar at Pinewood Studios asking for a lift home. Everyone sort of looked at each other, hoping somebody else would volunteer. One director did, and not long after, the pair were roaring up the motorway in an E-type Jag. Harris fell asleep. Stirred from his slumber a little way into the journey, Harris started to look frantically about him. Where the fuck am I? Who are you? Where are you taking me? He started pounding on the windscreen with his knuckles, causing a crack in the glass. The director pulled over to the hard shoulder, threw Harris out, and made his way back to Pinewood, leaving the actor stranded, bewildered, and no wiser. You want to know why he was so drunk all the time?
Why did he drink?
What he drank was, it says, for years Harris habitually drank 2 bottles of vodka a day.
Oh, that's
Oh.
alright.
That would take him up to early evening, whereupon he'd break open a bottle of brandy and a bottle of port and mix the two together.
Oh no.
When it came to drink, Harris took no prisoners. In his
Wait, I'm
favourite-
sorry. He mixed a bottle of brandy and a bottle of port together.
That's how they do it on that.
That
ice
sounds
seas.
horrible.
I've actually brought along a bottle of port, but I don't do it.
Shall we
from
mix
I like
it with
port.
some
Which
brandy?
port have you gone for?
late bottled Taylor's Vintage.
I can't imagine it being complemented by brandy whatsoever. But
No. Well,
Shall
you
we
can have
make
some
it
if
and
you
give
like,
it a
but
go? Will it make us
We'll
smash
break
up
it open in the
cars?
second half, maybe.
Because cars are pricey, we better not.
Yeah. When it came to drink, Harris took no prisoners. I should have said this earlier, but this isn't my book. Yeah. I lost it.
It's good book, it's good book.
It is
Yeah,
good.
book of it, it's good book.
Well, I've got my own copy that I actually highlighted
Yeah,
sections
well,
and
yeah,
things, but I forgot
you
it.
book it out, yeah.
In his favourite bar in New York, the barman would see Harris walking in and immediately line up 6 double vodkas. People spend the first half of their lives being cautious and the second half regretting it. Harris wanted no
That's true.
regrets when it was his time to croak it. Collapsing in LA one time in the mid-70s and placed on a life support machine with newspapers around the world compiling his obituary, the priest was rushed to his bedside to administer
I
the
like
last
this
rites. When Harris woke up to see the man offer him a rosary bead, he said, "Father, if you are going to hear my confession, please prepare to be here for days. By the end of it, I will guarantee you will very much regret your vow of celibacy." And the priest bolted from the room.
People don't know, but he was a sex mad man before
He
he became
really was.
Dumbledore. Stefan's eating on the microphone, ruining it for everyone.
I like how the priest
Was
runs
number
away.
3.
Yeah, he just got there and he was like,
Oh, yeah. In Hollywood, Harris continued his belligerence, driving back from a party out of his gourd. Driving?
oh my god.
Did you hear that? Driving.
Jesus Christ.
Don't drive if you're listening. I mean,
Whilst
unless
he was driving,
unless it's inconvenient to get a taxi.
well, while he was driving, he started destroying the inside of the car, tearing up the upholstery until his hands bled. Elizabeth, his wife, couldn't take any more and left him. Footloose and fancy-free, rather.
Is this the same Elizabeth that had a wardrobe?
Yes, yes. She eventually had enough and she got rid of his ass.
I mean, that'll do it, really.
But it didn't dampen his spirits because footloose and fancy-free, Harris described his ideal woman as a deaf and dumb nymphomaniac whose father owns a chain of off-licenses.
Weirdly, that quote is also attributed to Oliver Reed. Like, they
yeah.
kind of hated each other, but they had this weird hive mind of, I treat women badly and I like to drink and fight. And I'm
I
an
like to
acting
drink
man."
every pub dry and fuck every woman on the planet. Rah, rah. Oh dear.
They were naughty men, but they're fascinating.
Oh.
Oh,
I've said the bit about Oliver Cromwell. You can cut this.
you're losing Stefan now. He's not drinking his ginger wine anymore.
Oh, there's a bit about he married again in 1974 to model Anne Turkle to bring a bit of stability into his life, but he was still capable of getting dangerously hammered.
Did he throw a wardrobe at him?
One morning, he woke up and there was blood all over the pillow.
Oh God, what did he do?
Scrambling out of bed, he stared at himself in the mirror, noticing one eye weeping and closed and stitches in his face. We've seen that interview video.
Yes, if you go on YouTube, they basically Richard Harris, who was 40 at the time, because I sometimes think I'm in my 30s, I shouldn't drink anymore.
Yeah.
He went on their version of like Jonathan Ross, and he had this massive cut over his eye, and they were like, "Oh, did you have an accident?" Like, "No, I got in a bar fight. It was very silly of me."
There was a man who
like-
said something I didn't like, and I swung at him, and then he swung at me, and everybody started fighting. And then I ducked behind the bar, and there was the very same man kneeling behind the bar, and I said, "What are you doing there?" And he said, "I'm ducking Harris." And seemingly the other man was so drunk he didn't realise that the man who started the fight with him was also hiding behind the bar with him.
Have you ever spread rumours around drunk people about this guy that's turning up and then he never turns up and everyone gets disappointed? It's like, I
Yeah.
hear Leclerc's coming tonight.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Isn't that the name of the forger in Hello Hello? It's like, it is
Yeah,
I.
it is.
It is I, Leclerc.
Is that where
And he
I got
lifts
it
his
from?
glasses up.
Oh no, that's worrying.
And then they break him out of jail by like tying the car to the wall, and then they rip him off, and then his bed's attached to the wall, and they drive off, dragging him along the street.
What's worrying is in the pre-porn days when there was a desktop in my
Pre-porn.
house instead of a laptop.
Naughty lithographs!
I know. I got the horn off a woman saying, "Oh, Renee." That was enough.
Oh, Renee.
That was enough in those days.
Hello Hello should be on Mustard
Well,
Movie Night.
After this night, when Harris woke up with stitches in his face, incredibly, he had no recollection of how he'd got into such a state.
Oh no.
Going downstairs, he hoped Anne might be able to enlighten him. "What happened?" he said. She stared back at him. "What happened? God, there's a restaurant in Santa Monica and you've wrecked it. And you wrecked it laughing. You weren't even angry."
This will be a recurring theme.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, he eventually... well, let's see.
He looks fed up with the wardrobe throwing.
Harris eventually... Well, it says he gave up drugs and alcohol. I haven't looked up any stories about drugs. Have you got any?
Yes, he went through. He's actually very similar to Ozzy Osbourne in that they both reckon that they lived so long because they didn't get on with heroin.
Mm.
So it's like he tried heroin for a bit, and went, "Oh, I don't like heroin." Because
It's not my particular cup of tea.
Well, basically, yeah, Richard Harris, he was very similar to Pete O'Toole, who I'll discuss later, who was asked, "Why do you drink so much and why don't you do drugs?" And he said, "Because alcohol is the most outrageous of all the drugs." Like, he was a social silly boy, whereas heroin's very insular. It's like ketamine, it'll take you away instead of taking you to people.
That's very true. When you get drunk, I mean, not that I've done heroin because I fucking haven't, but
Rum is a
you-
drink that rejuvenates
You get pissed
and
at
makes
it.
you come alive.
from what I've
Gin
seen from
is a
indeed
melancholy.
from you guys, myself, and our other friends, if you get pissed, then it leads
You
you
wanna
to
be a
talk to
silly
random
boy.
guys.
Yeah.
And you make yourself a bit of a clown,
I-
but it's funny.
I had a night out like that recently,
Oh,
which was
ketamine.
very Richard Harris. No.
I had a similar one actually.
No. I
Ketamine,
had a...
ketamine's for horses. Don't do it. It's very bad for you.
I wouldn't. No. Well, I went out for the leaving do of someone from work. It turned out there were only 3 of us there.
Were they leaving because you threw a wardrobe at them?
No, I had a lot of cocktails, and basically, I had a lot of cocktails. I got in an argument with the guy at the bar who
Oh,
shoved me
no.
aside trying to get in.
Oh.
And when it was my turn to get served, and the
You
guy
suck
just
a
dived
bunch.
straight in and said, "Oh, I'll have a pint of this," and I turned around and said, "I was here first, thank you." And I said it in such a dickish way that the barman thought I was having a go at him, and I was having a go at the other guy. But I talked to the barman
Did you?
afterwards, and we both agreed that that guy was a twat.
For a second, I thought you did it in like a Karen wants to see the manager voice, like "Thank you."
Yeah. I didn't mean to say that. It was
Yeah.
because I added "thank you" at the end. I sounded like I lost the argument.
Well, I'm going on TripAdvisor.
But
I'm
carry on
going
anyway.
Sorry.
But yeah, basically had a lot of spirits, which I don't normally drink.
Yeah, spirits of the downfall.
Met a woman who turned out to be really nice, but I've got a bit of a head twitch and sort of jerky physicality about
Lots from
it
Crimea.
sometimes. And I saw her do it at one point, and I thought that she was making fun of me.
Oh.
So I stood there for what must have been best part of half an hour, glowering at her, thinking this woman's a right bitch. And then eventually I talked to a friend, said, no, she's really nice. I went to talk to the woman, burst out crying, started
You
hugging her a lot
cried?
in a pile of... Yeah, I got it. Like a teary, drunk, 45-year-old woman sitting on the stairs with a glass of gin, drunk.
This is why you miss Britain when you move away.
And then my
Maybe
friends left. I was going to leave, got adopted by a pair of really lovely guys who may have been a couple. They were definitely gay. I don't know if they were a couple, but they were really nice.
Yeah, you go.
Got taken to Mojo. danced a hell of a lot.
Is
I
this
don't
like a
remember
public
any of
program
it.
where it's like, are you a drunk sad boy? Has your evening gone
No,
wrong?
Matt,
Apply for a lovely gay
can I just
couple.
interject here? I think you've just raised a great point for us to have our Ask Doug segment.
No,
So,
leave that boy alone.
Can I just say what I did?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Well, I said I don't really remember much of the dancing. I know I went to Mojo. Well, I got bundled into a taxi, got sent safely home, and
Yeah.
I remember stumbling against the front door. But I did at some point, I must have either fallen over or banged my face off something, because in the morning, my nose and sort of eyebrow were covered in dried blood.
Oh, man.
And I just bled in my sleep, not got any of it on my sheets, and just woke up, looked in the mirror and thought, oh my God!
And your whole face was covered in blood, basically.
It bled from sort of three tiny
It sort of
little
drip
cuts.
over your nose into...
And it looked like one of those government help adverts, like, do you think drinking is a good idea? Do you think one more will help you? And it was just an advert for don't become this man. He's the depressed uncle that nobody needs.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Oh, I didn't feel great about myself. And I had a 2-day hangover. And I got messages the next day from one of the two guys just making sure I got back okay. And it was
Well, that was nice of him.
It was about 16 hours before I replied.
Very good. Yeah. I mean, I think when Simon comes back down and I've just heard him flush the toilet, I think we'll call Doug and we'll ask him about his experience with gay blokes and Mojo. That's a good story.
Having on about now.
So I was thinking we could ask him about something else related
It's
to the
time for
podcast.
Ask Doug.
Oh, leave
But
it
I think it's time for Ask Doug. So let's
Have
bring
you
this in.
actually asked him if he wants to be bothered?
He said he quite likes this, so it's all right. Yeah.
No, he's probably
Right, lads, I'm
sobbing
ringing
into
him.
a
I'm ringing him.
photo
That's
of
it. He's on
Oh.
speaker.
If you phone him, I get to eat the rest of your sausage. I'm going to eat the sausage stomp. Here we go, boys.
He's probably out drinking anyway.
He's probably hiding from your abusive phone calls. Why do we phone up this poor boy? He's a nice boy. We should leave him alone. Exactly.
Oh, no!
Oh, no. All right,
Again.
hang on a
But
minute.
we had this last time.
I mean, okay.
I think this is getting edited out.
So we'll call him again in a few minutes because we have to ask him about that particular thing at Mojo.
Back to
Okay.
bloody.
Oh, he's ringing me back. He's
Yes!
ringing me back. It's Doug.
Oh,
Gentlemen,
boy.
it's Doug.
That poor sweet boy.
Hello there, Doug.
Doug! Doug!
You're live on History's Maddest Bastards.
Doug! Doug, what's worse, willy cancer or bottom cancer?
Right, let him speak. Right, Doug, did you hear that? You're live on Maddest Bastards.
Right, okay.
I mean, we say it's live, but we're going to
Yeah, okay.
edit it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Doug, this isn't particularly related to the Mad Bastards that we're discussing at the moment. This
Well, it
is
kind of is.
to an extent, but so Matt was telling us a story about when he went to Mojo and there were gay men involved and
Lovely, lovely gay man.
Doug, up the bum, no harm done,
I mean,
question mark.
all right,
the AIDS
Simon.
crisis examined.
Shush.
All right, give him a moment, Simon. Doug, you can still hear me, right?
Yes, I can.
Good. So, Doug, can you please tell us about your experience with the gay guy in Mojo?
Oh, you leave them alone, they're nice people.
Well, first of all, that sounds rather interesting, doesn't it? But it isn't really. Also, I do have to say, I'm currently at a meal with my family.
Is that so?
Oh no!
Is that so? Okay.
Are we on speaker?
Can you not excuse yourself to the toilets for about 2 minutes to explain the story?
This is quite apt for discussing his experience with a man in a bar.
I'm in the toilet.
He's in the toilets at the
Excellent,
moment.
you're safe.
That's the perfect place to explain it, isn't
Doug,
it?
what happened
Yeah.
with you and this kind man?
I can explain it in a fashion, but it's not very entertaining. For a show such as yours, anyway. Yeah, it was a classic case of I don't know what it's a classic case of because it's never happened before. So yeah, I don't know what that's about. And the guy sort of pushed his shoulders at me. I'm like, oh, all right, mate. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
He said, oh, hello. I think I know you from secondary school, aren't you? And I was like, oh yeah, I recognise your face. Yeah.
So he was your schoolmate, was he, that you'd bumped into after all these years?
I didn't know him.
Oh, you're just being polite.
I just knew of him. Or he was in like the year below or something. Anyway, yeah. So it's so we get talked about life and how things were. And like the office department thing, I thought, oh yeah, sure mate, yeah, go on. And yeah, we talked all my life and talked, oh, what's this now? Oh, this and what's there. Oh yeah, that's cool, mate, that's cool. And yeah, so he offers me another drink. I'm like, oh, bloody hell, it's pretty good.
So he bought you several drinks. Did this ring any alarm bells to you, Doug?
No, not that.
Doug, we are leading this poor sweet boy on.
I was a little bit tipsy of it, but anyway, so I texted
He sounds like a nice man. You took advantage of him.
He's a really generous boy, so I kept on, discussing things. And at one point, he sort of, like, after he got quiet, I'm like, what I'm about to do, actually. It's very close. I think the evening comes to an end because it's about, like 23 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And, he sort of, he leans in and he gets quiet for a moment, and then he just asks a simple question. And,
He said what, sorry? What did he say, Doug? Can you just say that a bit louder for us?
he said, great.
Doug,
He asked you if you were gay.
I can't say it too loud because I'm an idiot.
Doug, by way of apology for the mix-up and all the drinks that this poor man bought you, did you at least give him a handy?
I didn't. What I did was, after that, I felt a little bit ashamed actually because I had in fact let the poor man.
Yeah, you did. I mean, there was hand soap in the toilet, so you could have slipped a finger in at the least.
All right, Simon, let the man speak.
Let him speak.
What happened after that was, I finished my fight rather properly, and I thought, I told him, sorry mate, you barked the wrong tree. I'm going to have to go, I'm going to get my taxi.
After you accepted all these drinks, you whore.
Yes, pretty much.
What did you say to them?
I went outside and, I sort of had to take it, right, mate, sorry about this, it's nice talking to you. And he said, you sure you're okay? And,
He said what, sorry? He said, are you sure you're not gay?
He did.
Well, you were gay enough when he was buying all those drinks, weren't you, Doug?
yeah, right, okay, I'm going to have to go.
All right, cheers for that, Doug.
Yay!
Cheers for the Ask Doug segment.
Thank you, Doug.
That's getting edited out because people won't like it.
All right, see you around, Doug. Cheers.
Well, I think it would have been better if you weren't shouting at him.
Yeah, it would have been. Anyway, we'll edit all that out.
No, we weren't. That was a fantastic
Yes,
thing.
we will.
Oh, brilliant.
I'm just glad he called back, to be honest.
So, Harris eventually gave up drugs and alcohol, save for the occasional Guinness later in life. There is a little bit in A to Z of Hellraisers about that. It was personal tragedy that got him back on the sauce. Because basically he had been sober, he gave it up in 1981. He was hardly a fan of sobriety, though. It was a bore. There must be other things in life beside drinking, he said. But I haven't discovered what they are yet. At least he was waking up in the morning and actually able to remember what he did the night before. Trouble was, it wasn't worth remembering. And a personal tragedy got him back in the drink again. He was attending the funeral of one of his brothers, and having already lost his father, 2 sisters and 2 brothers to hereditary heart disease, he began thinking as the coffin joined the others in the family crypt, what wouldn't his relatives give to rise out of the grave just for 5 minutes to enjoy a pint of Guinness? Harris searched out the nearest pub and tasted his first pint of stout for 13 years.
Wow.
It tasted better than making love to Marilyn Monroe, he said. From now until his death, Harris enjoyed a daily tipple. You need to stay lubricated just to remind yourself that you are still living and breathing. His final resting place, it says he died on October the 25th, 2002, after being diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease 2 months later.
No.
And Robert Sellers says, winning a whole new generation of fans playing Professor Dumbledore
Harry!
in the Harry Potter
Harry!
movies.
Harry! What are you doing there? You don't do it like that, you do it like this.
Harry, the reason you're a fucking orphan is because your ma said I wasn't given enough to Wizard Limerick, so I punched you down the head.
That wand have you got there? I'll show you a wand. You use your fucking wand like this. I'll wand you in the
That's
face,
what I'll
you
do.
bastard. Yeah.
I'll hit you like a nun hits a child.
Well, with a ruler.
Yeah, it's not a very effective weapon, but it
He
hurts.
turned the tables on the nun that time when he was young. winning a whole new generation of fans playing Professor Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movies. After finishing the second installment, Harris retreated to his permanent suite at the Savoy and all but disappeared.
Oh,
After-
Howard Bloody Hughes.
Yeah. After weeks of silence, his family broke in and saw an emaciated and weak figure. They immediately called an ambulance. When they took him away to hospital, recalled director Peter Medak, the lobby just completely stopped. And Richard sat up on the stretcher and turned back to the whole foyer and shouted, "It was the food! Don't touch the food!" That was typical Richard. Basically, he got Hodgkin's disease, which is an insidious lymphatic cancer.
That's not good.
At peace with himself, Harris had a life to look back on that was the envy of most of us. That he boozed most of it away didn't bother him one jot. I had the happiest days of my life as a drinker. If I had my life again, I would make the same mistakes. I would still sleep with as many women and drink as much vodka. Any regrets would make me seem ungrateful.
That's the interesting thing about him, that he really enjoyed what he did.
I can respect that.
Yeah.
I've just got 2 bits more. As his body lay in the morgue, Harris's 2 sons stood by their father, pausing for reflection. Thinking it too quiet and sombre, Jamie slipped outside to grab a pint of Guinness. Dipping his finger into the black nectar, he moistened his father's lips with it. And that's how the great man went to meet his maker, with the taste of a good pint on him.
Oh,
Do you want
that's
to hear,
nice.
do you want to hear the funny thing about his ashes?
Go on.
Yes.
Just for the last bit. Harris was originally expected to be buried at Mount St. Lawrence in Limerick, but his family instead revealed that he had been cremated and his ashes were scattered at his luxury home in the Bahamas. In his updated biography, Sex, Death and the Movies, close friend Michael Feeney Callan said this was a joke at the taxman's expense, and there were rumours he had his ashes smuggled back to Limerick. Whatever the truth, there are 2 permanent memorials to Harris in his home country. A statue in Kilkee, County Clare, of him playing racquetball, and another in the centre of Limerick in the role of King Arthur in Camelot.
He was a
I like
silly
that.
acting man.
Yeah, how's that for a...
Here we go.
Yeah,
Can
That was
I-
a great submission. That was truly a Maddest.
Yeah, he was pretty... he was the wardrobe throwing,
Yeah,
bottle
that's
of
bad.
vodka drinking,
Yeah.
fucking rugby playing, person knocking out him.
Can I add a bloody story about when he lived in that hotel in his final days?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, the family used to come around to see him, and he said, "I eat in the hotel," and that they used to eat in the restaurant in the hotel, and it was very expensive, 5-star. And he said to his whole family, "You've all got to wear black ties, very fancy here. Matt's getting up, he's getting up." And then they all got dressed up. One of his sons didn't even own a suit, so he had to go out and buy one. And then they got there, and Richard Harris turned up in a shell suit and went, "What are you all dressed up like that for?" He was a naughty man.
I like that. Oh, man.
He also used to fly, back in the days when you could get Concorde, it took 3 hours to get to New York. He used to fly from London to New York to have affairs and fly back on the same day.
Wow.
Which is quite naughty.
That's quite impressive and naughty.
He
was a sex symbol, man. And when you look at him, he looks like a tall potato with a face.
I have no idea how many women he must
The
have slept
ladies
with.
liked him, though.
What was it? He was a bad boy, wasn't he? He
for
was a
some
bad
rea-
bloody bloke.
The bizarre thing is, he was a sex symbol with a comb over, which
He had
hasn't
that
really-
weird Richard III hair for a long time.
Yeah,
Like short at the front, long at the sides and back.
he was like a
It's
It's a
bold.
bit like mine, really, isn't it?
Oh, you're in luck. You in bloody luck, Stephen. Chuck a couple of wardrobes.
Apparently I was
in
a
there.
hunchback, you know.
You do all right, don't you?
Yeah, the ladies might be more interested in me.
Mm.
Right. Anyway, so I
Wow.
think that's Richard Harris's segment over, isn't it?
Bloody Peter O'Toole time.
So we got time for Peter O'Toole, and it's getting quite late now, so we
Yes,
should
it
probably
is.
crack on.
So, who have you got, you
Who have I
prick?
got? Who the hell have I? You know who I've got. I've got Peter bloody O'Toole, who coincidentally was one of Richard Harris's best friends.
Yeah, but not as good.
And here we go. This is all fun. This is all fun. There's no biography.
That's quite
here.
good. This reminds
I
me of
saw
the
that-
Oliver Reed and Keith Moon
Yeah,
The
episode.
biography was fun.
No, biography's never fun.
It's
here we
not
go.
if you keep shouting over it.
Yeah, to be fair, a factor in it not being fun maybe me go, "What you done? What you done?"
Mm.
But never mind.
Don't do it.
Peter O'Toole.
Who was it? Who was it?
I How dare you?
What was his name? Peter? Oh, Peter!
Don't
Let's tell a
use
story
my
about
tactics
Peter.
against me.
Peter, fucking hell, Peter.
Peter!
Oh,
Oh,
Peter!
this
Peter.
one's called O2. What's a tool? Oh, what's he done? Hey, what's
Who
he
are
done?
you? My mum on Boxing Day waking me up to tell me what I said on Christmas Day. I was right to say it's
Oh.
12 is too old to think that. Never mind.
All right, I won't
Anyway,
do that.
there's some
It's
actual.
annoying, isn't it?
There's some Nah, it's brilliant.
What's he done? Who's that?
I'll tell you now.
Have you told a bit about the drinking story with the fucking...
No, yeah, I'm gonna.
There's actually some controversy about where he's from.
Where was he from?
Peter O'Toole claims that he was born in Ireland in the 1930s. He was actually, well, according to his
in
birth
the
certificate,
1930s. Right. Okay.
according to his birth certificate, he was born in Leeds in 1932.
Okay.
To an Irish...
your hometown. Technically-ish.
Ish, yeah,
I'm
living
from
there.
Bradford.
And to a Scottish mum. So he was from an Irish family. His dad was Irish, but he really used to play it up.
Yeah, Richard Harris was older. He was born in 1930.
Fair enough.
Therefore, he was better.
But you will like his dad. Peter O'Toole's father, who apparently actually, I watched a documentary today, he had a Leeds accent as well,
Oh, right.
was a hard,
Right.
you like this, he was a hard-drinking illegal bookie
Did
who frequently took young Peter to the racetrack so people wouldn't hit him.
you know the Peaky Blinders?
This was in those times, and the idea was sort of like, I was going to say it in Irish accent, like, I've got my boy with me. He was like, I've got my lad with me, you can't hit me, look at my little lad, doesn't he look sad?
Isn't he a pretty one?
On multiple occasions, they had to run away after betting because Peter's father never brought money to cover him losing.
What's
So he just always assumed he'd win.
That's the way. That's the old trick, I suppose.
Yeah, when Peter was 5, his father taught him a valuable lesson. He basically this was a terraced house in Leeds where there was a stone
terrorist house.
A house of terrorists. No,
There's a lot of those.
yeah, we'll leave those. Basically, he got Peter when he was 5 to stand on the mantelpiece. There was a stone floor underneath, and he just went, "Go on, jump off, and I'll catch you. You can trust me.
Oh no!
I'll catch you.
Oh,
I'll catch
this
you."
is going to end badly.
Young Peter, who was 5, got to reiterate that, jumped off, expects his dad to catch him, smashed his knees on the stone floor.
Oh!
His dad left him while he was crying,
Okay.
came back while his son was still crying, and said, "Never trust any bastard."
Oh, God.
Was his dad a previous version of Sean Bean?
Pretty much.
It's like Eddard style.
Never
there's the
trust
old
any
way.
cunt.
You don't need knees if you're a soft twat.
Bloody hell.
In 1950, though, Peter was called up for national service.
Oh.
He decided to go into the Navy, claiming to come from a long line of sea captains. This was bollocks, but it got him in. Shortly
Have you
after...
got that written down there? This was bollocks.
This was bollocks. There it is. This was bollocks. Shortly after this, there we go. This was bollocks.
It does say.
This was bollocks.
Bollocks.
This is how you write notes, boys.
Notes.
Shortly after this, though, after wangling his way into the Navy, he discovered that he became violently seasick whenever he set foot on a boat.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, there's a lot of wangling in the Navy.
Yeah, probably. But they never let me in.
They let in our friend.
No, they didn't. Sorry, bless him.
Because he had too many energy drinks and he went brain
I
crazy.
think we said this earlier in an episode. Well, clearly, yeah, we're not having a go. We know
Yes, I am.
someone who thought he had epilepsy. He went to see a doctor.
Brain crazy. I already said that.
You're like a Victorian doctor. Like, my wife's sad all the time because I leave her for months at a time and I tell her she's a whore.
So I tied her
Your
into
wife's
a chair
brain
and
crazy, so you've got to just hit her and give her some opium.
You got to electrocute nether regions.
Anyway, O'Toole had to do an intelligence test to see if he was officer material because he said, my father was a sea captain, which he wasn't.
From a long line of
He
bollocks.
was given a set of wooden shapes and was told to push them through the corresponding holes.
Is that not a children's...
Yes! Well, these are the
What?
standards for the Navy. No, he spent
Was he wooden block blind?
He spent a whole afternoon trying to force a square peg through the wrong hole.
That sounds like the Navy way.
Several officers called in more psychiatrists to watch him. They decided he was either going to be an admiral or he couldn't be a sailor. They were like, this man might be a G. Apparently, he was just like stood there hammering them in with his fist, like.
Was he drunk or was he just having an
No,
episode?
he just had the wrong shape and he decided to.
How on earth does that make you an admiral? I don't
Because he
understand
thinks
that.
the wrong way. He knows what to do.
Because he's going about it the wrong way, but damn well he's giving it a good
Gets
one.
results.
Yes.
He was also arrested during his naval service for stealing rum rations. His excuse was that it was a cold day.
Hang on, what kind of rank was he going for?
I don't know what it's called, but he went in as like the basic one.
Ensign or something.
I think that's enough. I think it's seaman or.
I'm thinking of 19th century naval.
Mr. Somebody.
Richard Sharp.
During a bloody naval game against some Swedish sailors, he accidentally bit his tongue in half after being tackled.
That happened to a friend of mine when he was a kid.
He bit his tongue off.
Well, he bit a hole in his tongue. He didn't bite the whole one, so he went around showing everybody, going, "Look at my tongue!" And it was a mangled corned beef mess of flesh and stuff.
O'Toole claimed that after it was sewn back on, it cured his stutter.
Oh,
I think the stutter was probably caused by his dad saying, "I'll catch you if you jump off mantelpiece.
Don't
trust anyone."
Bastard. Yeah, bastard.
After several attempts,
kick him in the nuts.
After several attempts to get out of the Navy, including feigning illness by drinking 18 bottles of wine.
Oh, I've done
Jesus
that.
Christ. 18
We've
bottles.
all done that. We heard up in Yorkshire.
If you remember
Drinking wine.
if you remember the episode that I
Have a
ruined,
wine then.
that was one bottle of wine and several beers, so he was very, very, very drunk.
Wow.
O'Toole was eventually declared mentally unfit to be a sailor.
Jesus Christ! That must be bad.
In 1952, though, he managed to get himself a scholarship to attend RADA, and he attended the Bristol Old Vic.
So he was good enough to get into RADA.
Yeah.
Unlike my guy, called Dickie Harris.
He met somebody, though. He met the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, Richard.
No, Brian Bloody Blessed.
Oh, what?
Yes!
I didn't know
way.
Brian Blessed was that old.
Yes!
Yeah.
Well, actually, Peter O'Toole was a few years older than Brian Blessed. How it worked was that the Bristol Old Vic had a drama school attached to it. So they were a theatre company, but they had the school.
In my mind, Peter O'Toole's always looked old.
No, he was young. If you watch Lawrence Arabia, he was young. But, like, Peter O'Toole was in his 20s and he was, like, a paid actor. And Brian Blessed was one of the students and he was up and coming. And O'Toole didn't care for it. He didn't like it. Whenever he saw him, O'Toole would challenge Brian Blessed to feats of physical strength.
Oh, wow!
One of the most famous was running around Bristol naked.
That's a feat of strength?
I don't know.
Vigour, maybe.
He used to just be like, "You look strong, Blessed. I bet I could run around the
Yeah,
city
bloody
naked
hell,
faster
Blessed
than
looks
you."
strong. Blessed's a bear of a man. Peter
Well, that's
O'Toole looks like a strong-winded blower.
Well, he actually claims that he was the veiniest man in the world. So he says that when he took his shirt off, it was all muscle and veins. But Peter O'Toole, if you look at him, is like skeletal. Like, he's a very thin man, but there was power in that skeleton. Blessed...
like our friend the Banana Man.
Yes.
Exactly.
In his bloody book, Brian Blessed describes Peter O'Toole at this time as being a consummate vomiter.
Sounds like
George.
me. I can relate to this. In my early days.
There's a story that he tells that one day he saw Peter O'Toole looking distressed, covered from head to toe in vomit in the middle of the day, trying to flag down buses, but none of them would stop for him.
Oh, he probably looked like a...
Just
like an Irish stew on legs.
We're losing Stefan, he looks sleepy. We've lost him. We've lost him.
He's
boys.
not
I'm
contributing.
just imagining George Clark in these scenarios.
That poor...
Oh.
Don't use names!
Who's George Clark?
Yeah, who's he?
Let's phone him up and see what he has to say.
Bloody O'Toole, though, really resented one thing.
What did he resent? What did he resent?
No,
Hey,
fucking made
what
him
did
do.
he- what-
They made him be in the student Christmas panto, which he hated.
Oh, man.
He
Why?
said, "I'm an actor, I don't have to be in this."
How old was he?
Like 23, but Brian Blessed was 18. He was like, "I've got into drama school," and he really admired Peter O'Toole. And apparently, for the first rehearsal for it, they'd had to drag him out of the bed of a prostitute, while very drunk.
Peter O'Toole?
Yeah.
Right.
To the
Brian Blessed.
rehearsal. And no, Brian Blessed was a sensible boy. And he looked at all the students and he said, "I resent being dragged out of bed to deal with this shit." So, yeah. He very rarely turned up to rehearsals. The grand total was 3.
Out of how many? I wonder.
when he was
Jesus.
when he was there, he was always drunk, hungover, or asleep.
Sounds like my sixth form.
Yeah. At one, Brian Blessed got very angry at him because he was covered in sick and slept all the way through the rehearsal.
Nobody would want to go over to give him a nudge.
No, apparently
He's like, no, leave him be.
the trouble is they decided he's not going to turn up for the panto, so don't worry about that.
That's the thing. These, I've harked to this before. So many of our drunkards that we've mentioned in these podcasts, they haven't mentioned the amount of sick, apart from Ollie Reed being sick on Scream Queen.
Oh, O'Toole vomited relentlessly.
Jesus. No wonder he was so thin, he couldn't keep a meal down.
And basically they thought he won't turn up, so don't worry. During one rehearsal, though, he was captivated by something. He was apparently asleep.
A woman?
No, he was asleep, covered in sick, snoring, and they brought in a donkey. They decided there's going to be a donkey in the panto.
I oddly premoniticized this.
Yeah, you did. And he kept going like, and making donkey noises.
Leave that donkey alone!
Apparently he woke up with a cigarette lighter in his mouth. Sorry, not a cigarette holder like Audrey Hepburn. And he did a big old grin which made it move up, and he just said, "This is art, love." And he was excited.
I saw a TV clip of him entering into an interview on a camel.
Yes, he was in Lawrence of Arabia, which we'll get into later.
Yes. Have you mentioned the camel later?
Not yet, but we'll discuss it.
You can cut that if you like.
No, that's all right. We'll go back into donkey time. He was meant to be the dame. He was supposed to basically arrive on stage on a bike, and he was meant to be an ice cream woman, and it said Walls of Jericho, and he was meant to say, "I represent Walls of Jericho." Haha, this is funny. Apparently,
yes, I heard about that, yeah.
He rode his bike onto the stage at top speed, went over the handlebars into the crowd, and then started grabbing people's arses and accusing people of stealing his wig. And then he climbed onto the stage without the wig and just said, "I represent Walls of Jericho. There's your first fucking laugh."
Oh, have you got the story about when they were so late because they went?
Yes!
Yeah.
And that will go later. He was warned by Brian Blessed, which was a mistake. You don't warn a bad man. He basically said...
Bad man.
Well, basically, he was given a very brief briefing. They was told, like, to get the donkey to move across the stage, give it one sugar lump. The trouble is, there are two things that happen if you give a donkey a sugar lump. One is, it will get hyperactive and just eeyore and run around
like me on coffee.
Yes. There's another thing that will happen, which is it will, if you give a donkey too much sugar, it will projectile shit.
Oh,
No.
God.
Peter,
the audience.
Peter O'Toole had filled his costume with sugar lumps.
What was he wearing?
He was wearing a big old dress,
Oh, right.
but it had pockets on it.
Big old bazookas.
Yep, he apparently kept them in the
Big
bra
old
as well, and
Nice.
he was giving this donkey handfuls of sugar lumps.
Jesus.
So people were trying to. This was the student Christmas panto that the parents had come to see.
Oh, for
Like,
God's
oh, Peter O'Toole, he's a
Right.
famous actor, and he was like, donkey, donkey, and he was going,
I'll have you consume this thing that I don't know what it will do.
and what's really sad is the opening line to like his cue to come on stage was, "Oh look, here comes Mrs. Billy Bob," and he just crashed a bike into the audience, and it all went to shit. Like, "Ah!"
I like that. That's fucking
It's
hilarious.
like psychotic meatloaf.
Well, much like our podcast, the whole play ground to a halt. And apparently, every time someone tried to say a line like, "Oh, what's the prince doing today?" Like, they tried to make it move, and there was a donkey just going and shitting everywhere. And apparently, every time it projectile shat anywhere, O'Toole would point and go, "That is art. This is theatre.
This is art.
This is." And
Shit everywhere.
He was just relentlessly shouting, "This is theatre. This is art."
This is what you want, you
So-
plebs.
Towards the end, they took him off the stage. He pointed at the donkey that was having massive diarrhea everywhere.
Yeah.
By the way, people couldn't do the play because every time someone came on stage and tried to soldier through, they'd slip on diarrhea.
Oh no!
Apparently, he
The old
pointed at the donkey.
Diarrhea slide.
He pointed at the donkey and just said, "There stands not only an artist, but also a critic." Yeah, he was Bad bloody bloke.
What did he mean by
The
that?
old
Give me
BBB.
your interpretation of their stance.
meant
Not
it
only
was-
an artist but a critic.
He meant it was an artist for shitting everywhere, but it was also a critic because they basically do a shit joke. Like, apparently, one line that Brian Blessed had that just he wouldn't let happen was, "Oh, what does a Greek earn? No, what's a Greek earn? Oh, 30 bob a week." And he just wouldn't have it. He's like, "Thanks for the donkey
I
shit
heard
again."
it is, what's a Grecian earn?
What's a Grecian earn? 30 bob a week.
How do you make a sausage roll? Push it down an hill.
Yeah, it was that. What happened was apparently Brian Blessed arranged
How do you make a Venetian blind? Poke him in eye.
It's all that. Apparently,
Pokemon,
the rest. Oh, here we go.
Sorry, pardon me.
The rest of the play was just that. They tried to save it by just having shit jokes, and it was all going all right. But then they heard hysterical laughter from the royal box.
Oh.
O'Toole had reappeared. He was
Oh,
still
God.
dressed as the Dame. Apparently, he had a bottle of wine in one hand
Oh,
and a
God.
big cigarette in the other. And he was just. Have you seen Cape Fear?
No.
In that, Robert De Niro like threatens a family by he goes to watch the same film as them and he laughs at every shit joke like
Did he sing the entire score of the HMS Pinafore?
He did, yes.
Oh!
But basically, just he ruined it. And every time they tried to make a joke, he'd just say, "It's a good thing I'm not wearing my knickers anymore because they'd be soaking wet."
Well, that's something.
This next segment, there we go, a
Nice
bit of
enough.
boring. The next bloody segment is called acting.
He didn't do much of that in his time, did he?
He did here and there.
No, apparently he was very good.
This is why Brian Blessed hated him. O'Toole became well known within the theatrical world for his terrible behaviour. This is what Matt was saying earlier. Michael Caine was his understudy. in the
Michael
West-
Caine!
Michael
My
Caine.
name is Michael Caine.
Michael
You
Caine.
scruff. I'll take you in the fatty nose. Peter!
If anyone doesn't know what an understudy is, they're basically there in case a lead actor gets ill, so
Yeah.
they're there to take over. Peter O'Toole was always in the pub, so he was always late. And on more than one occasion, Michael Caine would psych himself up, and he'd be like, "Oh God, this is it. He'd be in costume.
Jesus.
More than one time, as the curtain was coming up, he thought, "This is it. This is my chance." O'Toole would run on, going, "For God's sake, don't go on, Michael! Don't go on, Michael!"
I feel sorry for Michael Caine because in his early days, nobody thought he could do that part in Zulu.
No,
Everybody thought he was wrong for so much because he was a bit of a wheeler.
A bit of a bloody wheeler. he got fucked over, but this is why he didn't really get on with Peter O'Toole. Once, Michael Caine thought, "I should get on with O'Toole better." And on one occasion, they went out for a meal. The
dear.
last thing that Michael Caine remembers is eating a plate of egg and chips in a restaurant on a Friday evening. He woke up in a strange flat on the floor. O'Toole and a mystery woman were there. Get off my cans!
There's more in this one.
Here we go. And he asked, thinking it was Saturday, Michael Caine asked Peter O'Toole, "What time is it?" O'Toole said, Never mind what time is it, what fucking day is it?" It was 5 p.m. on Monday,
Oh,
and they were due on stage in 2 hours.
okay.
Yeah, they lost the weekend. When they got back to the theatre, Caine was really upset to discover that they'd been banned from that restaurant.
Oh.
And this is advice I should learn. After asking what they did, basically Michael Caine picked up the phone. I've got to find a restaurant.
What did I do?
What did they do? He wanted to apologise. What I done? O'Toole put the phone down and said, "It's better not to know, dear boy.
You don't want to know.
It's best not to know." Around this time, O'Toole started to enjoy drinking from 2 bins at once.
What?
He used to
Bins?
he would set a chair as his throne for the evening.
I see.
One was filled with hard liquor, the other with beer, and he would alternately scoop pint mugs into each.
Oh, I see.
Like,
There is a photo. I'm never going to find it now, but there is a photo of me drinking from one of those giant planters.
Oh, good
When I
days.
used to do archaeological digs on a Friday night, we'd have the cocktail party.
From what you tell me of archaeological digs, you just vomited a lot.
I vomited a lot.
Do you do any digging on these?
I got other people to do as much digging as I could. And yeah, we used to do a basic excavation and research training course called Bert.
Was it just
And
like...
there were a lot of girls in that course, and I used to drink a hell of a lot. One night I was going to bed early, and there was a girl who was one of these sort of enviroarchaeological finds director people, and she was rather nice. And I was going to bed early, and she said, "No, you're not. You're getting your red wine, and you're coming to the chalk pit tent, which is where you used to go after hours when you had to be quiet."
Was
Was this the redhead?
Yeah.
I remember you telling me about this.
Was
She's
this
a lovely girl.
basically Time Team, but with the cast of the Carry On films? Like, you're going to short set with me, wab 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 wab.
I mean, whether or not it was the cast of the Carry On films, if Matt Hild is involved in it, it kind of turns into a bit of a Carry On
Darling, I'm
scenario.
gonna go.
Nothing really happened, to be honest. It was just a bit of drunken cuddling. But
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
that's my story
We
anyway.
won't go into the other story you
No.
told me.
We'll save that up.
I probably shouldn't
We'll
have said
save that one. How about we talk about the bloody actor Kenneth
Well,
Griffiths?
I was going to say the coup de grace was
Oh,
when
no.
my housemate at the time, stumbling back to his tent, he was about to
Oh,
get into
God.
his, and he said, "You get all the women." And I thought, I really don't. I just get drunk on archaeological drinks, and women literally fall onto me.
Yeah. I'll shake your hand there, sir.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We had the
If
same
anyone
thought.
doesn't know,
Oh,
someone
good.
fell on him in the dark.
That's staying in.
That's
There we
definitely
go.
staying in. It's true. It's true.
Anyway.
He's a handsome chap.
Who's Peter?
Oh,
The
yeah,
act-
Peter!
The actor Kenneth Bloody Griffiths, who was a friend of O'Toole, warned his future wife against marrying him. She said,
Oh,
"Understand, he's a genius, but he's not normal."
you'll vomit in your knickers.
And Stefan's playing with a bottle cap. This section's called Stardom. O'Toole,
Stardom.
he was propelled to stardom in 1962 after starring in Lawrence of Arabia. This led to even more bad behaviour. This included
Oh,
getting in a fist
Arabian
fight.
behaviour.
Arabian behaviour.
Fist fight with Arabs.
No, he was on the tour around Europe to promote the film, and he got in a fight in a restaurant with a French count.
Oh, not just a French cunt.
No, a French count was a count.
Oh, right, I
One
bet he
night,
was.
he
Yeah.
got drunk on homemade mead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and was
What a lad.
and he was arrested for harassing a building.
The next building?
A bill.
The next morning, he was
How do
sent.
you do that?
The next morning, he was sent to court, and he explained to the magistrate, "I felt like singing, and I began to woo an insurance office."
I think we've all done that.
We've all done that,
Yeah.
boys. Cast dinner in the Middle East, where you better bloody behave. Peter O'Toole got utterly battered and started throwing champagne, fondling the bottoms of strangers, and fighting people.
Oh no!
His co-star Alec Guinness said, "I can't do an Alec Guinness voice. Shall I try it?"
You can
Give it a go.
Oh,
You can try.
O'Toole could have been killed.
That
Shot.
sounds like your every
That's all,
Caucasian voice.
all the voices. Shot. Every Caucasian voice. What?
Every occasion voice.
Oh, sorry.
Every Caucasian voice.
I thought we were going to say it's like when
If you
comedians
go
do that
for-
voice.
Use your best Alec
Yes.
Guinness voice.
Could have been killed.
That's my best.
Well, I'll get Matt to read this little bit here. There it starts.
Sorry.
No tool.
His co-star Alec Guinness said, O'Toole could have been killed, shot, strapped or strangled. And I'm betting to think it's a pity he wasn't.
I'm beginning to think.
Beginning to think so.
Never
I can't
mind.
read.
Whilst making The Bloody Line in Winter, which interests us, it's about Plantagenets, it's about Henry II
Yeah.
and all the rest of them. He trapped his finger. He had no luck with boats. He trapped his finger between two boats on the lake,
Oh, that's got to hurt.
ripping off the tip of his index finger.
Rip the tip, eh?
Or rip the tip.
He didn't de-ring himself.
No, the,
Degloving. That's
oh no, that's where the skeleton bit stayed.
Yeah,
No, what's
that's-
it? The skeleton bit. I mean the bone. Never mind. No, the top of his finger actually came off.
Huh? You've got a recurring theme of people having finger
I
injuries.
know. I don't know what it is. He
Where have they been sticking him, eh?
at my bot. He preserved the finger in a glass of brandy
What?
And-
Oh, right, that's not that bad an idea.
and insisted on jamming it back on and wrapping it in bandages. When
yes.
several people overpowered him and removed it, saying, "Your hand smells of cheese. We need to find out what's going on."
Jesus.
Um,
That's gangrene.
Yeah, they found it was badly infected. It started to heal, but he put it back on the wrong way.
Oh,
So
I
the
was
nail was facing inwards.
pardon me, I was just up to the point of saying that's what happened to Dave the Duck with his
Williams got
long,
popped back on
monstrous
the wrong
duck
way.
penis. No, he
It's
killed-
weird.
Wait, you mean
killed
he
the
put his
penguin
finger
Willie.
back on so that his nail was facing this way round in towards his palm?
Yeah,
How do you do that?
he was very drunk.
So
Christ.
what do they do? Because when
So
I've
they just
seen
cut
him
it
in
off, I
films,
guess.
He usually has all his fingers.
He had multiple operations to fix it, and apparently it always looked a bit weird.
Would you not just get a false one or something?
Apparently.
It'd be
I don't
less
know.
trouble.
From what it says, he had to have a lot of surgery.
If I was going to lose a finger, it'd be my right hand little finger.
I like that he planned that.
Yeah.
Because it's the only one I don't use when I play guitar.
I thought you were going to say when I do a strangle.
When I do the old
When I'm
strangle.
off on my rounds.
Yeah, when I'm with a girl and she likes a bit of the angry strangly.
Oh no. When did that become a thing? That seems to be what the young people are into.
I was talking to a friend of ours. You may know
Oh, this is
he's-
derailed. This is derailed into strangling. We're in bloody daddy territory now.
Actually, no, a different derail. Have you
Oh,
made?
God.
Because you were talking about homemade mead. Have
Yeah.
you made any mead yet?
I've not. I've
Because
Right,
I
why not?
don't know if you know this, listeners. You're not going to. But I sent a birthday present to Stefan's flat,
Was it
which I
shit in the
talked
shoe
about
box?
indirectly before, and I said, "Watch your post
yeah.
for something coming through the
It was
post."
a mead making kit.
It was a mead making
Oh.
kit, and your flatmate told me that
Is
it
it the
turned
sweet
up, and you
muslin
didn't
bar?
have a clue.
I didn't know
had
who'd sent it until you told
assumed
me.
it was your dad.
Yeah.
And
It was either my dad or he that had
Oh.
sent me such
you
thing.
kept telling your dad, "Did you buy this for me?" Your dad insisted, "No, I didn't. Honestly, no." It wasn't
I
me."
very nearly went out and bought the other ingredients necessary for the mead the
We-
other day. However, I got distracted, so I'll have to do that soon.
Oh.
It's not that hard to do, but you have to get good stuff. So we
Yeah.
shall make
Drink
mead
it.
of our own,
And then we'll drink
get
it for a
around the place.
podcast,
Yes.
and we'll record
A year
drinking
from now,
only mead.
when we're on episode 12.
And
So
then we'll
Probably,
start
yeah.
shouting about how Gringotts goblins are funding the IRA.
Exactly.
We'll do.
Shush, we don't talk about that. It's funded by the IRA.
But the first
Peter.
time
Oi,
on
Peter.
the set of The Lion in Winter,
I've heard of that.
it's a good film. It's a good film. He met Catherine Hepburn, who was a formidable figure.
Oh, with a bloody cigarette in the cigarette holder, like the sexy woman
She
she
was a formidable lady.
Apparently, she was mental as well.
Yeah, she was quite silly.
She should have an episode.
She walked in on him just to say, they said, like, you want to meet Peter until you're working with him. She walked in on him and he was pissing into a sink. She wasn't impressed. She got sick and tired.
Yeah.
Well,
Easily perturbed, those
She got very angry. Basically, he was drunk and hungover all the time, and his antics enraged us to the point that one day she punched him.
Oh!
He won her over though, because the next day he got makeup department to dress him up like a mummy in loads of bandages, and he turned up on two crutches and went, "Catherine, look what you've done to me." And she did agree that he was a
How on
mummy.
earth did that win her over?
I don't know.
I bet Catherine Hepburn could pack a mean punch.
Yeah,
in
she
person.
looked like she had powerful arms.
I imagine she spent a lot of time around a lot of irritating men. that
Well, she
could-
did a lot of punching.
I bet she had a good sort of right cross.
He also, this is sad because this is a different actress. He also managed to get Audrey Hepburn, who was known for being lovely to everyone, appallingly drunk because they're on a film together. She was about to drive a car in a scene in the film.
No.
He thought it'd be funny to get her battered. She crashed it, destroying an expensive set of studio lights.
On a stand, I presume, and she drove into that.
Yeah, poor Audrey. Does anyone know the actor Peter Finch?
Peter
He's in a film called Network, where he's an angry newsman.
Oh, the guy!
Yeah.
Get up! I want you to get
That
up
guy.
and say,
Yeah.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
That's what he's most famous for. They used to get very, 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 very drunk.
Really?
On one night out in Dublin, well, we could probably sympathise with this. No one was served them anymore because it was closing time. But they found one pub that was still open, and they decided what Peter O'Toole describes as they were going to go in for just one pot.
Just one.
Just one pot.
Just
one.
one. Just one.
After several more, the landlord cut them off and said, "I'm going to bed. I'm shutting it. It's done." And then
You've had enough.
You've had enough. And he just went, no, we'll have much more.
Much more.
Eventually, they bought the bar
What, by check or?
by check. They basically said, well, we're
Christ.
buying this establishment. The next day, they went round to apologise. They found out the man hadn't cashed the cheque, and he ripped them up and said, are you two boys going to behave? So it was
Better
in
behave
Dublin.
now. You're lovely boys.
Those
Better
boys,
behave,
sweet
they're lovely.
boys. The two of them actually went back to this pub loads of times, and they used to really enjoy it because they became friends with him.
That's the thing about London. It's got loads of little bars that I've never had the chance to go to.
I don't like London.
Apart from the
Mrs.
Museum
Dublin.
of Curiosities.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a mean old fashioned.
What happened though was eventually this landlord died, which is very sad.
Oh, people
Um,
do that. Though.
They both got a bit drunk and they went to the funeral, and
Oh God.
they kept getting dirty looks from the family because they were very upset. They were wailing and crying at the grave apparently.
Like professional Greeks.
And then, yeah, very similar, until the landlord's wife came over to grab them and said, you're at the wrong grave.
Mm. Oh no! Oh, that's. At least they didn't fall in.
I've got another story. Whilst on a trip to Italy with the actor Kenneth Griffiths, Peter O'Toole apparently received some distressing news. He shouted, Kenneth, it's all got to end.
Oh yes.
And he jumped off a wall overlooking Lake Como.
How high was it?
Apparently quite high. He basically was like, I've got to end it all. The lake...
Like, is it Porthos in the Three Musketeers?
Yeah.
I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, the lake turned out to be 2 foot deep.
So he just smacked his fucking knees.
Yeah, he just
again.
hurt his knees.
What is it about him and jumping off things onto
He
knees?
was a silly boy. In 1967, he was reunited with Brian Blessed to make a film called Country Dance.
Ooh, let's watch that.
Oh, nice shit.
Ready?
Yeah.
Let's
Let's do a country dance. Let's take off our pants and show you what we
What
got
do you do if you can't
downstairs.
find the loo in an English country garden?
Yeah, that
Pull
one.
down your pants and suffocate the ants in an English country, and so on.
That's it. At the Bloody Rat Party, Peter O'Toole was late. It was at this lovely country house, which was owned by a lovely country lord man.
Oliver Reed.
No. And it was full of antiques. It was all nice. There was a formal dinner.
Oliver Reed.
Oliver Reed!
No, there's no Oliver Reed. But Reedish behaviour.
Oh. Oliver Reed.
Everything was going fine until a door flew open.
And
And a man
the
wearing a
barrel
barrel
helmet.
horse.
Oh,
Yeah.
You must fight me now. Slow motion fighting.
I don't like being the same one anymore. Very
Drink
similar.
more and you won't.
I know.
Yeah, drink more,
gonna
son.
You're
join you.
losing the competition, you pleb.
I know. This is how Brian Blessed describes it in his book, which is called Absolute Pandemonium. He said, and then the terror of the universe entered the room. O'Toole, the bastard, had returned.
Oh, Tool the bastard.
And basically, Peter O'Toole, they're basically these people playing bagpipes. He grabbed the bagpipes off one of the pipers and played it perfectly.
Like old fighting Jack Churchill.
Yeah, he played it.
Everybody
God.
do a bag fucking impression now.
Here's the thing, though. It's amazing.
You can
He
keep
played,
going.
he played them very well. Everyone was surprised and thought, this is alright. Until he shoved them through a closed window.
Oh.
And then he started to tear this place apart, was ripping medieval tapestries off the wall,
Oh, God.
tearing up paintings, until Brian Blessed apparently grabbed him and went, this is a quote, "Stop this, O'Toole! End this madness!"
You know, is that where that phrase comes from?
What
Because
phrase?
in the
When
number
Brian
of
Bless
films
is
they're
the
like,
voice of
end this
reason."
madness. Is that where it originates from?
I don't know.
Pop question. If you were going to break
Not
a
sure.
window, where would you hit the window?
In the centre. No, corners. I know
you
this.
never hit a window in the centre because it's the strongest part of the pane of glass. Hit it in the corners.
I know this because on my double glazed window as a child, some naughty people shot it with an air gun and attempted to break in, and there was a big
Yeah.
bubble there for ages.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's why on buses they have that little.
Little hammer.
Now they have a sort of button that you can punch with your hand, and they put it in the corner of the window because it's the weakest point.
As a child, do you ever take the hammers and try and have little fights? Because you get in a lot of trouble over that.
So, kids, if you're going to break into a place, hit the window in the corner. Also, if you're going to break down a door, kick it round the lock.
Yes, well done. But you encourage a simple-minded man to break a door down once, didn't you? A kicky man.
No, I didn't. It was our weird man, the friend of ours who believes he's a 19th century colonial officer.
Yeah.
But he didn't personally break into my flatmate's house, who already was in quite some distress and possibly quite far along the spectrum. But he did tell another weirdo to break into that room. I could tell you stories about that.
Which, by the way, if anyone's listening, if you live with someone who's a bit anxious, don't break their door down. That won't help.
Yeah,
anyway,
he wasn't
this section's called "No More Bloody Booze, You Bugger."
What? Where's the fun in that?
You know how Richard Harris stopped drinking? That's because he nearly died. He went all skinny. And
he collapsed in LA and was put in intensive care or something like that.
This is very similar. O'Toole, one of the reasons he drank so much was he suffered from chronic stomach pain throughout his life.
Yeah, hence the vomiting.
Yeah, he often drank to ease the pain.
Oh, the only time I feel alright
there's a sadness amongst us.
Drinking.
One day, it became so bad that he went to hospital and had to undergo emergency surgery. Several yards of bowel were removed.
Whoa!
And
what did he do?
I don't know. He was basically
bowel, as in large intestine.
Yeah, the old shit tubes.
Because that's the one that's not long enough to reach the moon.
Yeah, he was basically told if he ever had another drink, it could kill him.
Jeebus.
Brian Blessed actually was told he was very depressed, very upset. While Brian Blessed was making a TV show called I, Claudius, he said, bring in Peter O'Toole. And his plan was, I'm going to berate Peter O'Toole to cheer him up. Which makes no sense.
You useless sod.
Well,
why don't you fucking...
It makes very little sense,
Well,
yeah.
basically, Peter O'Toole was a superstar through the 60s, and apparently when he turned up on set, everyone sort of gasped, like, because he just looked like a skeleton. He'd aged about 30 years in about a month.
Skeleton warriors.
Which we'll
I
discuss
love that you get that reference. Skeleton
It's a good
warriors.
show. Apparently, people were very... I've ruined this by...
If you know the show Skeleton Warriors, write a comment on the YouTube video saying how much you loved that show.
I mean, I used to enjoy Skeleton Warriors until I found out that they too were funding the IRA.
Yeah, true. With their Gringotts gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, Brian Blessed said in his book, everyone was sort of like, oh, Peter O'Toole looks so ill. He said, a little head poked its way through the door. So around the door. And I said, get in here, you diseased shit. He also called him a pissed up buffoon from Leeds. And when O'Toole was crying once about, sort of, I can't act anymore, I'm too ill.
We can't go on anymore.
Brian shouted at him and said, you've got as much presence as a vole's cock.
Oh, God.
Apparently it made him act again because he wanted to prove Brian Blessed wrong. So,
what did Brian Blessed ever do to anyone?
However, in Peter Bloody O'Toole's old age, he started to drink again, much like Richard Harris.
Oh, bastard! I thought I had an edge on him.
In his 70s, he threatened to storm out of the Oscars in 2002 because the bar didn't sell alcohol. This is actually,
that is a reasonable grievance.
Yeah, it certainly is.
There's a famous interview with Richard Harris where they said, this was before Richard Harris died, like the late 90s, where they said, what's the difference with you and stars today? And they said, you look at Tom feckin' Cruise.
Oh yeah,
He's got a bottle of Evian water. I always had a bottle of vodka. That's the difference.
Evian!
A bottle of Evian water.
Evian bloody water.
You're not allowed to have
But he sounded proper English, posh.
Yeah, when he acted.
Hey, you swear
on
water.
Basically, at the Oscars, you're not allowed booze anymore because they can't handle a bloody drink. So it's
really?
Yeah, because a lot of them used to be alcoholic.
Does Tom Cruise ever drink?
No, he's just got slaves that work in his house for free. Oh, Matt's opened the wine.
No, it's not wine.
What is it?
It is late bottled vintage port.
Oh, here we go, boys. This section, we're getting near the end. It's all right, Stefan.
Yeah, sure.
It's all right. Do you want a coffee?
Nah, I'll be all right.
This section's called Macbeth.
Macbeth.
Well, this was notorious. Matt's getting glasses. In 1980, O'Toole phoned up Brian Blessed. They hadn't talked in years, and asked him to appear on stage with him in a production of Macbeth. Brian was so angry about this that he drove to O'Toole's house to abuse him. He threw him around the house shouting, "You're a shit, O'Toole! You're a shit! And,
As O'Toole's go, you were a shit O'Toole.
and he threw him over the sofa.
Oh, what?
Yeah, apparently he was angry because he felt that O'Toole was wasting his talents or something.
Is
Eventually,
it true that Brian Blessed doesn't drink?
yes, he says
He
drink
never did.
He said drink makes him violent. So
Drink makes Brian Blessed violent.
If you read his book, it's just anecdotes about him hitting people.
And bears, I hear.
Yes,
Sorry.
but he's for a later episode. Basically, Brian Blessed agreed to be in this play. Oh, thank you. We've all been given port.
We've
Let's
all
clink
got a
it
glass
together
of
and
port.
say
I
Merry
mean,
Christmas.
I may as well
Let's
have a
just
look.
take a minute out.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
This
Merry
has gone to
Christmas.
shit, hasn't it?
Only because of how crappy your candidate is.
Oh,
Why?
he's good. He's good.
No, carry on. Seriously.
When he got there, basically, Brian Blessed was filming and he said, I got 3 days before your play opens. I will learn the lines, but it's got to be ready. The first thing that he saw was the director knocking back several triple whiskies. And he went, "Where's O'Toole?" And he said, "He's in his dressing room." Brian Blessed went to the dressing room, which Peter O'Toole had painted bright red. So basically he got there and he was in a bright red room and he was like, "Hello, Brian."
That's
Which
That's a
wasn't
bit
good.
sinister. That's like the weird, like the violent husband who waits for his wife to get home in
the
sitcoms
dark.
and just goes, "How long have you been?"
One turns on the light and he's got a tumbler of whiskey. Where have you been?
That
You
or
say
he's
you're
got
going
the
to shops.
dinner set out on the table and says, "This has gone cold. It's been cold for 2 hours now." And then she hits him over the head with an iron and everybody
Gets
goes,
away.
"Yay!"
O'Toole had wasted most of the budget on inflatable sets.
Sorry, inflatable what?
Inflatable sets for the theatrical production of Macbeth.
I see, like bouncy castles.
Yes. He basically bought a big old bouncy castle and the actors couldn't walk on it because it's a fucking bouncy castle.
The last couple of times I've been on a bouncy castle as an adult, I've never been more tired.
Have you tried to walk on a bouncy castle or act? You can't. It's like...
Yeah, but I've tried to bounce on one as well. We ordered all the kids off the bouncy castle because we thought we
Bouncy
would crush them with our
boys.
sweating drunken pulp. And I can't remember wheezing quite so much because I was with a bunch of reenactors. Because have we mentioned that we do a reenactment?
that we do a reenactment?
And it was just there's videos of the kids trying to get on and us going, "Nah, piss off, get the fuck off, not for you. Oh, it's all for the adults." And
All for the big boys.
we just lie around there groaning and wheezing, and the kids are wanting to have fun. They don't want to be in the same place as us because we're an embarrassment to
Well,
humankind.
this was similar. The inflatable sets had to be removed, partially because they were all shaped like big old willies.
Well, how much does an inflatable set cost?
Apparently a lot. That was all the money for the play. Also, no one could hear the actors' lines because there was a... Have you ever been near a bouncy castle? There was a noisy generator going... So
Yeah,
you're like,
that's true.
where's Macduff? Where's my wife? Where's my...
My wife!
It was like that.
My wife's having an affair.
My wife's having an affair.
The trouble
She's
is-
a right slattern of the 3rd degree.
Well, speaking of slabs of third... Actually, this isn't a link to that at all.
Back to Peter.
Is this your second to last page?
Yeah, we're at the,
Alright,
end. We're at
that's
the
fine.
end.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 7th episode.
No, that's alright, that's alright.
They brought in a new director because Peter O'Toole kept sacking everyone. He brought
Sacking.
firing, whatever you want to say. He brought in a film and TV director who never directed the stage before, and he said, Brian, I don't have any sets. He brought in massive wooden sets from a musical based on Cinderella called The Slipper and the Rose. I think these were basically like fairy...
Slipper and the rosy cheeks,
Well-
eh?
It was basically like the castle in Frozen, but with loads of staircases, huge sets.
I haven't seen Frozen.
Oh shit. The trouble is, Macbeth is meant to be 2 hours long. Because of the sets, it was 5 hours long.
Oh, okay.
And the trouble was, Brian Blessed says that he was playing Banquo, who's like becomes a ghost.
Banquo! I've
How
not heard the clock chime, Father. No, that's Florence.
how this works though is that Banquo gets revealed, which means that he turns up on stage in the dark. The audience doesn't see him. A spotlight comes on, like boom, and he's there.
I played Fleance in the school play
And you were
version of Macbeth.
shit at it, weren't you?
Banquo was a guy called Ian, who was a really awesome guy at school, but he was very sort of pale and gaunt looking.
And
So
he
he
was a
made
ghost.
an awesome ghost.
Nah.
And when we were in between rehearsals at school, he used to go, "Hi, son," and I'd go, "Hi, Dad." It was quite fun.
Don't know why Brian Blessed was a bad ghost. Apparently, the audience would laugh because it took him 5 minutes to get on stage. So there'd be big pauses where Peter O'Toole would be like, "Oh, there's a spooky ghost." And the audience would just see Brian Blessed climbing up and down loads of staircases. Like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
I can't get on the fucking
For
thing!
fuck's sake,
Peter,
here I am!
This is intolerable!
Fucking boo! And it didn't work.
Fucking boo!
No.
Because sometimes just boo isn't enough.
Yeah.
Also, on the first day, I should have mentioned, there was a big old crisis because O'Toole had sacked the costume department. When Brian saw him, he'd painted diamonds on his eyes,
Oh.
and he insisted on wearing nothing but red tights, a big red scarf, and paratrooper boots.
Diamonds are for retinas.
Yeah, it's not really a good Macbeth outfit.
I made a joke.
Peter O'Toole also decided that he didn't want to play the part anymore, so Brian Blessed had to physically dress him like a child and drag him on stage.
Jesus,
You'll
that's
in-
bad.
You'll enjoy this though, because he was basically furious, like, "You've got me into this. You are doing the play."
Yeah,
He
I wouldn't
claimed-
like to annoy them that much.
Yeah, he claimed that one day he walked into the dressing room to find Peter O'Toole crawling around on all fours like a demented ape. I thought you'd enjoy that.
Like
Because
ape.
Like an ape. Are you an ape? Because
Oh.
apes don't crawl around on all fours.
No, they don't, do
walk.
they?
Well,
So
like a
if you
demented
saw an
ape.
And they act as the bouncer at their own wedding drinks, as we remember.
What is this? What is this?
Oh
ape
yeah,
for?
they do.
Yeah, you remember.
Yeah,
No, I don't.
don't think-
I don't know
Very
what
good,
this
very good.
means.
think we
Matt
need
remembers
to
it's
piss
alright.
outside.
The
No,
North
not meant to
remembers.
piss outside.
Can I go into a section called Blood?
No.
Yes.
Basically, Peter O'Toole really
Brian
wanted.
Blooded.
Peter O'Toole really wanted loads and loads and loads of fake blood because he thought it'd be brilliant. Now, this is a cyclical thing.
It was like the Tarantino of his
What
day.
did they get, like pig's blood or something?
Yeah. History
Oh,
repeats
God.
itself, though. The last time Brian Blessed was on stage with Peter O'Toole, there was shit everywhere and everyone slipped over. And he basically
Literally.
said,
Oh yes,
If-
donkey shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
he said, "If you do that again, I will walk out on you."
I.
Brian Blessed stayed, but apparently the audience kept laughing because people would come on like, "Oh, here comes Macduff," and then he'd just slip on fake blood. And it was a mess. Also, on the first night, the play nearly ended prematurely because Peter O'Toole got in a bath full of blood, couldn't get out, and nearly drowned. Apparently, he got into it like, "I've murdered the king." I was like, "Oh God! Oh God!
It was
Ryan!
literally
That's quite
in,
alright.
Ryan!"
in a bathtub of blood of his own making. There's very much akin to the phrase "make your bed and lie on it."
Yeah.
Exactly.
Apparently, the
Yeah.
play did end with him asking Brian Blessed for
Serves
help.
him bloody right.
Although to be fair to him, they got very bad reviews, but
Blood
he insisted on doing every date and he saw it through. So good for him. This is concluding bloody remarks.
Okay.
When he was into his 80s, Peter O'Toole was at the Oscars again, and he tried to seduce Ryan Gosling's sister.
What?
Yeah, Ryan Gosling has told this story. Apparently, he brought his sister.
What kind of an age gap is there between Ryan Gosling and his sister?
Between Peter O'Toole and Ryan Gosling's sister is about 50 years.
Yeah, but
Apparently, his sister walked off in like a trance. He was like, "What? What?" And he said Peter O'Toole was in the corner luring her in like Dracula. And he was apparently just going, "Come here, my pretty. Oh, my pretty, come here."
bloody hell, there was no fucking Me Too movement then. You just
Well,
had to
it
go,
kinda
"Oh,
was.
there's a famous actor trying to woo me. I probably should
Well, it's-
pay homage."
Well, it's actually quite a sweet story now, in a bloody way. Apparently, Ryan Gosling came over like, "What's going on here?" Went, Mr. Gosling, we've both been robbed tonight. But according to Brian Blessed, in the 70s, Peter O'Toole became notorious in nightclubs because he had what he called his groany song, which I'd like to recite. He would take over dance floors. Thank you. Matt's pouring me some more port. That's what keeps the boats.
Late bottom
Afloat.
vintage, don't you know, you bunch of
If you imagine this is a very tall, skinny, gangly man.
I'm not skinny or
No,
gangly.
Peter O'Toole was. He was like 6'5". He would basically flail about on a dance floor to clear it so everyone would get out of his way. And then he would just say,
Yeah.
sometimes he'd grab a microphone and he'd say, "This is it. Oh, death, darkness, nuclear war, radiation,
What?
Go on.
killing whales, elephants, tigers, pygmy hippos, pollution, acid rain, starvation, cruelty, and lasting torture in hell. He would then collapse to the floor sobbing until he would then bounce back up again and say, well, might as well live. Solid. Let's celebrate with a happy dance.
Oh.
So he'd go back to gyrating.
Gyrating?
He just basically flailing about.
I see.
Oh.
Here we have the grave of Richard III. Flailing.
No one can see that.
No, nobody can see my flailing.
Brian
arms,
Blessed,
so that's
he was
why.
basically that wacky wave inflatable arm man. That thing. O'Toole hated.
Inflatable arm, African American.
Yes.
Hail the cat.
It's alright, Stefan, we're at the end. It's okay. We tried to drive to drink and you haven't drunk enough to enjoy yourself. You left us off.
I've drank quite a lot so far.
I like this quote. He was asked if he was a tortured artist. He said that he hated the idea of the tortured artist.
An Iron Maiden.
Yes. He wrote, "We weren't all brooding, introspective, drug-addled lunatics, and we weren't solitary, boring drinkers, sipping vodka alone in a room. No.
No, not that.
We went out on the town, baby, and we did our drinking in public. We had fun." I've got a concluding remark, which I think would win my case for me, Stefan. Because we've got to decide who's the maddest bastard.
Yeah.
Oliver Reed wrote two things. Bloody Brian Blessed wrote two things about the competition. He wrote, Richard Harris, Oliver Reed and Richard Burton, all actors notorious for their exploits off stage, didn't compare to O'Toole, who was a real fighter. He basically felt they all had an entourage that would get them out of trouble. You remember Oliver Reed had the sailor man who would drag him away?
Yeah, Mr. Percy, I don't know.
Yeah, that's Sir Percy.
Sir Percy.
Apparently...
The guy who threw off a balcony onto the rock.
Apparently Peter O'Toole had an entourage that would get him into trouble. He associated with people who would encourage him, like, yeah, you should do that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of our friends with this.
He
Really.
does. He also wrote, this is me trying to do Brian Blessed voice, so the other three so-called hell-raisers from the drama world made a lot of threats. They throw stones and chuck spears at the castle, whereas O'Toole would pull down the drawbridge, charging, screaming, and start swinging from the flaming chandeliers. Although he did say that Peter O'Toole was 25% gold, 75% dog shit. So he did.
I love that. Was that Oliver Reed who said that? No,
that
Brian
was
Blessed.
Brian Bloody Blessed.
Yeah.
I've got the bonus round if you bloody
Go
want
on,
it.
go for it.
This is about bloody Richard Harris and Peter O'Toole were friends.
Oh,
Very
yes.
nice.
had-
This should shed
yes,
some light
please.
on both, actually.
They had
Yeah.
some adventures. They acted together at the Bristol Old Vic and became firm friends, big old chums. O'Toole
Bing,
acted
bing.
in a play that Harris had turned down because he felt it was too tricky and he didn't want
Yes, I know
yes.
about this.
to
Yes.
do it. Harris, who was a drunken lunatic, decided to go incognito because he didn't want to distract O'Toole or take away from the
Do
performance.
as much as you can in an Irish accent.
He basically thought, I don't want to cause a distraction. So he went dressed as a Catholic priest and rented out his own box. Towards the end of the play, Harris was so impressed by this that he wanted to go and congratulate O'Toole.
He said he was brilliant, just brilliant.
It was amazing. So the trouble is, there was a review that said Peter O'Toole was brilliant in this play, but the play was marred by a Catholic priest who got naked and exposed himself.
Oh, yeah, because he did. Sorry, I was too drunk.
No,
He
apparently the audience...
wanted to change with the guy who was there so he wouldn't
Yeah.
look like a
Oh
priest
yeah,
when
he
went
found
up
a
to-
bystander dressed as a priest. But you're there. We got to change clothes. I'm a friend of O'Toole's.
I'm a friend. I need to put on your clothes so I don't look like a mad priest going up to congratulate Peter O'Toole.
There's also here's another good one. 7 years later, he thought he'd forgotten this because O'Toole was angry, like, you ruined my play. You ruined my bloody play. Harris
7 years though.
Harris was on stage and the play was interrupted by a commotion at the back of the room. There was all this shouting and people shoving. And then he said, let that man out. Then what's going on? Because he was angry. Who is that man? And he just heard from the back, it's O'Toole, and I'm dressed as a nun.
7 years it took him to get his own back.
But he
7
did
years.
it.
But he did it. in that amount.
I'm going to try and do a Richard Harris voice. This is a...
Richard Harris.
I love this quote. This is about his days drinking with Peter O'Toole, and I think it applies to our silly nights out a bit. He wrote, "Golden days. They were
Golden
days of chat and yarn spinning and great legendary boozing." Also, they actually were allowed once to appear in a play together. They got battered in the intermission every time. On one notable occasion, Harris ran on stage, much like O'Toole in the panto. He skidded on the stage, fell into the audience. Apparently, a woman in the front shouted, "This man's drunk." They said, "Just wait till you see O'Toole," who appeared later half naked. This is the final one. This goes back to when they were straggling early acting people. Very young. Oh, those dear boys. While out on the piss in Bristol, O'Toole and Harris admitted to each other that they liked the same woman.
Oh,
romantically.
Okay. Did they get a bit of...
We've all been there,
They
haven't
had a bloody rivalry.
Have
This,
we?
this is terrible drunk people.
we?
logic.
Not us, but
Th-
yeah.
Luckily, I don't like anyone, so that's all.
Nobody
no problem.
likes you, so you win.
Well, we're happy then.
I'm
they
sorry.
decided-
I'm sorry, Simon. It's not true. It's not true. Take a hold of yourself, man. You
it's
must
fine.
fight me now.
It's fine. I've fashioned a sex doll out of a mop and a hoover.
That's better than mine.
Oh, never mind. Basically,
It's a train and a
they.
whistle.
It's just a Hornby train and a what's the thing?
I ran a train on that train.
What's it called?
By myself.
The bloody torch you can fuck. What's it called?
The
flashlight.
Yeah, it's just a flashlight and a Hornby train, and I make it go up and down and up and down, and there we go.
Just wait till the fat controller gets involved. Da, 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 da.
O'Toole and Harris admitted to each other that they like the same. They fancied the same little lady.
Who was it?
He doesn't say.
Oh.
Apparently, to save
Was it
her
Warwick
embarrassment. No. They decided the issue had to be resolved that night because they were both battered and silly.
Of course they did.
They agreed to a compromise. O'Toole, who was a charming man, would try to sweet talk her through the intercom of her block of flats.
Okay,
Well,
that's
Harris-
that's the old trick.
Bloody.
Yeah, through the
bloody-
intercom.
This is terrible advice, don't do it. Harris would climb the drain pipe and get in through a window. Don't do that. It's a bit stalkery.
But back in those days, that was moral behaviour.
Is that the one
If
where
she-
he climbs up and then he finds that the other guys are already in the
Yes.
flat with it? Yeah. Oh,
This is how they both tell the story, which seems to match up. Allegedly, bloody allegedly, because O'Toole was a charming bastard. He got there. Harris climbed the drain pipe, got to the balcony, looked in the window to see O'Toole with his arm around her walk into a bedroom, and he looked over his shoulder and winked at him like, "Ha ha!"
Oh no!
According to Richard Harris, at this moment the drain pipe gave way. It fell back, leaving him suspended in the air. Then someone in the building called the police. What happened later, though, was apparently the blue lights came, the police turned up. The same woman came out on the balcony to look, followed by Peter O'Toole, wearing a dressing gown that didn't belong to him, who said, "Officers, arrest that drunken Irishman. He was trying to break into my home." And there we go.
Right, Matt.
Oh,
I have to say that while that has never happened to me, I can relate to that story.
Yeah,
You can relate
I
to
think
trying
you
to
can as
break
well,
into
probably.
You and I are
someone's
oddly
house.
linked by
Yeah,
weird circumstances.
strangely.
I didn't know that story.
No
It's
drain
amazing.
pipes involved, but still.
Oh,
Did
bloody
you
hell.
once like the same person, and then you
No.
refused to stay?
No.
Did you climb into
We were
someone's house?
tired by...
Between us, I don't think we ever like the same person. I think it's more that the same weird shit has happened to both of us through
Yeah.
different people.
Is
Pretty
it
much.
that-
We've
is it-
known each other, what, 3, 4, 5 years?
Did you
Since like 20, I don't know, like late 2014, I guess.
So 12 years.
Could your
no,
dates?
it's going on for like 5 years.
Could these dating problems be related to that you tried to climb up a drain pipe thinking, she'll love this, she'll love this.
I've
Just
climbed
turn
it.
up at a window like the little kid out
So,
of the bloody
now,
vampire film.
These
I don't remember
days,
the name of.
these days, people...
Salem's Lot! There we go.
These days, people often have plastic drain pipes. They're not climbable. You need good old cast iron.
Well, there's a bloody
drain pipe.
demographic I'm not allowed to discuss that took the lead off my drain pipe, but never
Jesus
mind.
Christ.
And
Alright,
it wasn't
lads.
Richard Harris because he's dead.
Is that the end of your
People-
segment, Simon?
Yes, sorry, Steph.
So,
People have removed the dress.
Thus far, we've gone. This is 2 hours and 39 minutes we've done so far. So I have to decide who's the
Christ.
maddest bastard.
Shorter than
You're
Chopper.
for it now, Stefan.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to decide, to be honest.
So
So now the time has come for me to decide who is the maddest bastard.
so.
I'll admit,
So
listeners,
unusual
I am
thread.
drunker than I've ever been on any of the other
You're not that
episodes.
You're living now. You're living.
And I've had over.
It's in the nature of the material.
Well, I've
That
had
you
1.5 bottles of mead and I've had half a bottle of ginger wine. So
What I'm enjoying about
Yay.
this is like, you know, Metalocalypse, where the manager gets drunk.
Have you drunk
Yeah,
any of your
It's like
drinks?
that episode.
and
I
I've,
like
I've
it.
drank some of the port as well. actually.
Metalocalypse. Incidentally, the manager is played by
I don't know.
Mark Hamill,
Is it? I did not know that.
No, he isn't.
isn't he?
No, he isn't. You got it wrong. He plays the wacky priest and the General
Is
Cruz.
he?
Yeah.
I thought it was the
General
I thought it was-
Cruz, yeah. You can
Oh,
We
Tell
should do a Matt
back.
Lockett special one day.
Yeah, we should. If any, no one will know this, but because I'm shit with names. For about a year, I didn't know Stefan's name. So whenever I saw him, because he has long blonde locks, I always said, "Eswizga."
Did you actually? I can't
Yeah.
remember
Do
that.
you not
That's
remember
amazing.
that?
Actually, I have a point to nail down. I've known you for so many years. Is it-
Almost 5 years.
If you haven't seen
I
Metalocalypse, this means nothing to you.
That's a good bloody show, and it's even
What were you
better
saying?
bloody
Giving my
music.
mum a bloody hand
But-
job.
I've known you for a number of years, and
Yeah.
I still don't know how to properly pronounce your name. Is it Stefan or Stefan?
I don't know how to pronounce my name either. You can
I
say
think-
either.
I
How
think
do
it's
you
fine.
say it?
I mean, in Ukraine it'd be Stepan. With a P.
Stepan.
Well,
Stepan.
well, they lost that right.
Yeah, which is the
They
Saxon
lost
command
that right
for
when they
step
lost
forwards.
the war against the boar.
So
That's what
Ah, the
happened.
boar
The
poisoned me.
I
was
suppose you
poisoned
could
by the boar.
argue that if you just change the P for an F, then it's Stepan.
Did,
But I honestly don't care what people call me.
If-
I do like to go.
to be fair,
after
going
it.
back, if we ever do a greatest hits, one of my favourite moments of this podcast is when you looked a bit sad and you said, you know, a relative of mine was killed by a wild boar, and Matt
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
stop laughing.
I went.
That was good.
I meant to continue with that theme, but I started
Fuck's
with. I went to B&Q and bought a torch.
I'm going to finish this part.
Do you remember when I told
Um,
that Oliver Reed shot a man through the wrist and he nearly bled to death and he couldn't stop laughing?
Was that when he was trying to prove his marksmanship?
Yeah, he was like, "I'm a sniper."
It's like, well then, you're only 2 inches off.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
I should
amazing.
wear a bracelet saying, "What would Oliver Reed do?"
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh.
WWORD.
Sorry, are we recording?
Right, anyway,
Word.
the real purpose of this segment is because I can't decide.
I've had a drink and I forgot we were recording. Have I said a racist thing? What have I said?
I don't
No,
think
you
you have.
haven't.
So,
Then
lads,
we're okay.
He's not.
in,
you're not
I'm,
really
I'm going to
racist.
say,
I'm
I'm
not-
going to say in reverse order to how you presented it, just for fairness.
Can I solidify my case, though?
You've got to solidify your cases. So, talk me through a very brief summary of the main points.
Oh, Matt, tell me, Matt, your cat's better than my
So we'll
cat.
go with-
Your cat's not better than my cat.
We'll go Simon first. Talk me through the main
Well,
points.
Matt is reading a book called The A to Z of Hellraisers, written by Robert Sellers, who wrote the Bible of this podcast, which is what Fresh Lunacy is this by Robert Bloody Sellers.
That's not in question.
This is also the whole Hellraisers franchise, which inspired me to push this podcast. But it's based on 4 men, one of which we haven't covered yet, which is called Richard Burton. He is called. The others were Oliver Reed, Richard Harris, and Peter O'Toole.
Okay.
Brian Blessed, who was there at the time and was sober, so he remembers everything, says
It's a bloody miracle.
the only true Hellraiser from that period was Peter O'Toole. And he didn't even like it. He said that he loved O'Toole 25% of the time, but he knew he was a shit.
Okay.
So he saw it all.
Fair enough.
He said he actually said it multiple times. His favourite thing was that he said that Oliver Reed and Richard Harris would trash a restaurant and look around to see who was watching. Like, aren't I being naughty? He said that Peter O'Toole would trash one even if it was closed. Like, just, ah! He also, the other significant thing is, to prove who was a proper mad bastard is, throughout the making of bloody Macbeth the play, Brian Bless's one thing was he said, "I will leave you as a friend if you're drinking or on drugs." He was sober, and he said he's just as bad, if not worse. He's sober and he's still intolerably insane.
That is quite good.
What sober man draws diamonds on his face, puts on a pair of red tights and para boots, and says, "I'm Macbeth"?
That is true.
Well-
That is very true.
It's mental. Oh God! Sorry, I opened a
God.
can of Guinness and it exploded. It's the ghost of Harris. back for revenge.
Harris! It's Harris again!
It's Harris!
Have you got any more points you can talk me through for why your guy was the maddest bastard?
Oh, he lived longer. He was mad enough to see it through.
Maybe like particular deeds he did, like for example Harris
Silly
punching
thing.
cars and that sort of stuff.
Oh God! I've had a bloody drink.
I've had a bloody drink.
I'm trying to remember. He tried to commit suicide in a lake that was shorter, that was less deep than his thighs.
Yeah.
Than his
So he just
shins,
jumped
sorry.
in and went, ow.
Well, basically, he went in and the Kenneth Griffiths said that his legs buckled and he went down to his knees, went ow, and then went ow. I'm alive, Kenneth. We'll have to go for a pub. So it was
Well, I mean, that's the logical destination after that failed attempt, isn't it? So yeah.
well,
that's
actually,
right.
from a career point of view, he was a movie superstar, and the play that he was in that Richard Harris fucked up. Everyone said to him, "Why are you doing that? Why are you going back to the stage? You're a film star now," and he just said, "I like the stage." So also, I've got to say this: when he was making Lawrence of Arabia, he nearly got murdered multiple times. Because in the Middle East, they don't fuck about. He went to Lebanon with, and he went to Beirut. This was when Beirut was less scary in the 60s and it became
obviously,
in the 80s.
yeah.
Apparently, Omar Sharif, who was his co-star, and Peter O'Toole went around all the bloody brothels and all the casinos, and they spent all their money. And it got to the point where they tried to sell their passports so they could get back to the film set. Eventually, a passing American politician saved them. So, yeah. Matt's writing notes like a mad professor. He's a bit. He's like Jeff Goldblum.
It's alive!
It's more like, you know, when Jeff Goldblum worked out how to fight the aliens and he starts writing things down. Like,
I know,
David's got ideas.
All right, have you got any more, Simon, or is that the summary?
He was a mad, silly boy. I think the quote speaks for himself. He was the only real one.
The only real Hellraiser,
He was the
according
only
to the
Hellraiser
legend.
who didn't need an audience.
That's fair. Matt, have you got
Didn't need
a summary for your chap?
Well,
Dumbledore! Oh, Dumbledore!
Richard Harris, I would
Oh.
say, was a man who I've given more counts of him destroying property, I think, than Peter O'Toole. He ripped the insides out of moving cars. He would go out into the road and try and punch moving cars on a regular basis, I think.
Can I help
And people
with,
were afraid of giving him lifts.
as a charitable man in the spirit of Christmas, can I add one Richard Harris story?
Sure.
After an awards show, I've forgotten his name, but there was a film director who saw Richard Harris in a torn-up tuxedo walking down the hard shoulder of a motorway, and he just thought, "Oh God, I better pick him up. What's happening?"
Was that after his mate kicked him out? That director kicked him out on the hard shoulder.
I don't know, but I guess it was.
Yeah.
Apparently, he let him in the car. I was like, "Richard, what's happening?" People are being terrible, terrible people. I was like, oh God, he thought he'd been beaten up or something. And apparently, while he was driving down the motorway and could not take his hands off the wheel, Richard slowly and methodically tore the car to pieces until his hands started bleeding. So apparently it started when they were just chatting. He was like, Richard, what happened? Went, oh, you know, the usual. And then he just ripped off the door to the glove compartment. And he just started ripping his seat to pieces. And he pulled the springs out of the seat. He was like, Richard, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm Richard Harris. This is what I do. Yeah.
Go on,
He was
mate,
a bad
carry
man.
I was going to try and make the point that after he gave up drinking, he continued drinking some years later. But
Yeah, too
he,
bloody did it too.
They
Wah,
both
wah,
did,
wah,
yeah,
wah,
he
wah.
did. But his children did spread alcohol on his lips after he died
Oh.
as a tribute to how much he had.
Indeed. That cannot be
Also,
forgotten.
I can tell one story about Peter O'Toole. There's a very funny film that we should all watch called My Favourite Year, in which he plays a character inspired by Errol Flynn, who we will cover later.
Yeah.
He's meant to. He plays an alcoholic. He's meant to drink. You know, a miniature bottle you get on the plane.
Yeah.
They were all meant to be methodically washed because in the 80s it would have killed him if he drank booze, and then replaced with iced tea. He drank one of them and it was full of whiskey, and he nearly died. So he drank his guts out. This was a man who drank so much that they had to remove half a street out of his stomach. They said yards and yards and yards of tummy sausages.
Christ.
Yeah.
Peter O'Toole was known for vomiting everywhere, but Richard Harris seemingly could hold his drinking. There's not much record of him vomiting quite as much as Peter O'Toole. He was known to go to other parts of the country in one night. he had. Well, Peter O'Toole had a team of people supposedly to inspire him into trouble. Richard Harris didn't need anyone to get him into trouble. Richard Harris overcame a terrible, debilitating disease of tuberculosis, but it didn't stop
Peter
him.
O'Toole was born in Leeds, which is a debilitating disease in and of itself.
Yeah, you also said that Peter O'Toole received, he was going to get murdered in Arabia, whereas Richard Harris got numerous death threats for a long time from the IRA, and he was a vocal, outspoken person, which is the same thing as
I'm gonna have
against
to.
the IRA.
I'm going
which
to have
also
to.
alludes to Gringotts Bank funding.
The IRA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what he said.
They've got the silver. What were they called? The bloody
The
sickles.
goblins.
They're called
Silver
the
sickles,
galleons.
golden
I
galleons,
don't like
and
saying
bronze
sickles when
Canucks.
I'm having drinks. It might sound like shekels, and I'll sound like I'm horrible. So I don't.
What were
wanna
you
say it.
going for there?
I need to do my research again, but I do believe there's a story where Oliver Reed challenged Richard Harris to a charity boxing match and he refused. Oh, but I'll have to
man.
bloody look it up.
Peter O'Toole used to take a stand that he would rather not know what he did the night before, whereas Richard Harris used to wake up in a fright and go, "What the hell did I do?" and demand of people, including his wife, or more than one of his wives, what the hell he did, and he used to revel in it, not
Oh dear.
deny.
Can I make an appeal that says that Richard Harris was a sane man, though? In later life, he was best friends with his ex-wife, who was the mother of his children, and I saw an interview with him sober, bloody sober, in which he said that the best thing that you can do is reconcile with people, and he said his best friend was his ex-wife, and that he was a terrible husband. Those are the words of a sane man.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah, but how many interviews did Peter O'Toole have, I want to know,
Have
where
you
he
seen
got
him
literally sewn back together?
Have you seen the
That
bloody
is also
Letterman interview when he turns up dressed as Oscar Wilde and he's just like, I'm a naughty, naughty boy.
All right, I've made my
how-
decision. I
Yeah,
think.
at 70 years old, Richard Harris sucker punched a young man in the face in a pub after calling his wife the fucking ugliest woman he'd ever seen.
Stefan's head is in his hands like
Right.
he's just sent some boys to their deaths on the
I'm going to
Western
make my
Front.
decision now. So
Whoa.
listen closely, my
You're like
friends.
General von Moltke in 1914.
So,
All my boys are gone.
General Grievous.
Right, before I make my decision, I'm going to down the rest of this port. 1 minute.
Yeah.
The
Oh, see it go down. There's a proud man there. You
He's a proud man.
inspired me.
He's a
I'm
good
gonna
man.
Oh.
He's a good man.
So, given what you both said throughout the duration of this
I
podcast
think O'Toole was mad, wasn't he, Stefan?
and the little summaries at the
I
end,
think Richard Harris is.
in my opinion, and I realise this has happened several
Glass him
times
in the face.
before.
Oh.
Richard Harris glass a lot of people.
Like
Listen.
psoriasis, I'm always coming back.
Listen to the man, will you?
That might be wishful thinking there, my friend.
Oh, you can't.
So,
They were very
I've
good
done this
friends.
several times before, but I don't think there's any definitive way to separate these two men.
No.
It's another draw.
Listen.
It was very close, I'll admit. This draw. This
They
draw.
were good friends. They were very good friends.
This draw has been closer than all of the
Unlike
others.
No.
I can't think of another pair we've had that has been closer.
I don't like it.
I like it.
It's a
I
draw
like it a
again. I cannot find any definitive point in either of them's favour that would
Need I remind you
give them the top spot.
there's a direct quote from someone who was there that says that compared to Richard Harris, the only true drinker,
That's true.
the only true silly boy was Peter O'Toole.
Was that Brian Blessed, though?
Yes.
It was.
Who continued to work for him on a period spanning decades, whereas Richard Harris, various fuckers, didn't continue to work
Anyway,
for him.
lads, the main point of this podcast is to share information about these mad bastards rather than for me deciding who's best.
Yeah.
Because that is just
grind
one
him
man's
into the
opinion.
dirt.
So we can all rest easy knowing that coming up to Christmas, we've given our listeners, our loyal listeners, our fans, two more mad bastards and some information about them.
That's the spirit of Christmas, listeners.
It certainly
to, promote destroying a property, assaulting domestic violence, clearly.
Christmas is going bad. Throw a wardrobe at your spouse.
Mike's
And-
will drink a bottle of vodka and punch the milkman in the
And
face.
I'm also rather drunk now, so I think it's a good time
Way.
to end this episode.
Jingle
So,
bells,
yeah.
jingle
Found
bells,
out
Stefan
drink.
is wasted.
Let's take advantage.
He's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
wasted. He's just a little bit drunk.
Just
Yeah.
nicely pished.
Anyway,
We're
I'm
going to
gonna.
pretend to be nice
Oh,
guys
my
and
God.
take advantage of him.
I'm Richard Harris. Listen to my lilting Irish tones.
Yeah.
That's not how he talks in films, though. He's like,
Harry! Harry!
Harry, I'm shitting myself. What are you going to do
it's a good
about
thing
it?
the
He's
dimension
probably
is it.
shitting himself, my lords, filling his hose with turds.
His house with turds. These shitty
Harry! Harry!
Filling his robes with turds.
Who did the best Dumbledore, though?
I'd say Richard Harris.
Yeah, I would say. so.
Harry! Harry! Harry!
And
I like him both, to be honest. Again, Michael Gambon was alright. Richard Harris was
Gambon
alright.
is not on. No.
Gambon, not on.
And on
You
that
heard it here
note-
first, lads. Anyway,
Right.
any final words from you, chaps?
Fuck off. Get out of here.
That's
What
not
about you,
very
Matt?
nice. I say jingle bells and fuck off.
Well, I'd
Very
say
good.
it's partially our fault for only putting it on YouTube, but you've clearly got 5 tabs open. One of them's a lady with a willy, and you're all enjoying yourself.
Hey, everybody gets
So-
their limelight. They're 15 minutes.
Just stop wanking while you're listening to this. It's weird.
I refuse. You can't tell me what to do.
Right, for the last 20 seconds, let's be as Italian as possible.
Hey,
Oh, hey, oh!
It's
The maddest pasta. Hey, tagliatelle. Hey, the pasta. Hey, let him know, Joe. Hey, oh,
Oh, Robert
did not
De
launch
Niro
this
eats
mission
a
towards
Chicago
it's a
town
maddest
pizza.
pasta. It's
Oh,
bastardo.
a